All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome. If you are new, thank you guys so much for being here today. Thank you for joining the stream. We have some topics that we're going to be discussing today. Mostly PlayStation, pretty much, let me see here. Almost all of the topics we're discussing are PlayStation related. Well, technically every topic is PlayStation related, but there are a couple of topics here where recently we learned some things about Microsoft and Xbox that I think are definitely relevant to PlayStation, and they're going to be more relevant potentially as time goes on. So, yeah, we're gonna talk about these topics today, and want to just quickly give a shout out to the nearly 300 people that are already here, hanging out with me, watching the stream. It's always cool to see so many people show up so soon, so I really appreciate that. Before I dive into these topics today, I do want to let you guys know some ways you can help support my channel, help support me directly if that's something you wish to do. So obviously, as I always say, just being here, watching the content, sharing the content, hitting that like button, all those things help tremendously. But if you want to go above and beyond and support me directly, you can do so by becoming a channel member and gaining access to some exclusive membership perks. If you are already a channel member, you can consider gifting channel memberships. That helps tremendously as well. And on top of that, you can consider donating a super chat. All three options, whether it's becoming a member, gifting memberships, or donating a super chat, all three help tremendously and are a way for you to directly support my content and my channel here. So thank you to everybody who is here and everybody who does that. Okay, so the first topic we're going to dive into. So we actually have a set of PlayStation leaks to go over and discuss. Now, I will let you know that one of the leaks we cover, I don't know how many people are going to be interested in this. I feel like there's a good amount of PlayStation fans that are going to be quite interested in this, but I feel like there's also a decent amount that might not be. So we have two leaks. The first, this one is interesting to me simply for the fact that I don't think we've seen Sony do something like this before, and I'm not even sure if it's real or not, but it's a new PlayStation 5 bundle. And this just kind of surfaced on the internet. This is being reported by Insider Gaming. And they say here, new images have surfaced that outline a new PlayStation 5 bundle that contains 24 months of PlayStation Plus, specifically PlayStation Plus Premium. First spotted by Twitter user @ZubiTech, the bundles appear to offer nothing more than 24 months of PlayStation Plus Premium, alongside, obviously, the PS5 console. But the timing of this release could be noteworthy. So Insider Gaming says that they understand that Sony is planning to launch a new PlayStation 5 later this year that sports a detachable disc drive, although not yet confirmed. It's possible that the new bundle could be a means to sell existing PlayStation 5 stock before the next console is released. Insider Gaming understands that the new PS5 will completely replace the old model, and it's unclear when this new PS5 model will be announced. But Jim Ryan recently said at the PlayStation Showcase that more details will be revealed soon. So we'll have to see about that. But yeah, I'm going to see if I actually should have had this. But have you guys seen this kind of like floating around? It's like this new bundle with 20, I was going to say 48 months, but 24 months of PlayStation Plus Premium. What do you guys think of that? Like, there's no pricing for it or anything, but I saw a lot of people reacting to this, and I don't know. I guess I just wonder, like, if you were buying a PS5, which bundle would you be more inclined to go for? Would you go for a bundle with a game, or the bundle with 24 months, which is 2 years, which is a lot, actually? It's kind of crazy. Like, I guess the assumption is you're paying like $550 for it, but maybe it's like $600. I don't know. How much would it be? Michael Lynch, thank you for the $5 super chat, man. You're saying, did you watch That's Armored Core 6 video yet? You're going to be very upset with me, Michael Lynch. I have not watched it yet. No, I promise you it's not, because I mean, at this point it does clearly convey that I might not be that interested in Armored Core 6, but it's actually just because I haven't had much time lately to watch much of YouTube at all. Saying watch it on stream? Possibly, but no, I've been very, very busy lately. Um, I haven't been playing much, haven't been watching much. Had quite a packed weekend, and I was trying to kind of get back into the groove of things yesterday. Put out a video, so I know that's disappointing, Michael, but I will try my absolute best. I'll have to remember. Saying it's okay, just checking, just so you know, it's very impressive. I believe that, yeah, I believe it. I'm gonna have to check it out, because I've seen more people talking about Armored Core 6, and if there's any channel I'm gonna go to get my news on that and my information, it's definitely gonna be Vadi Vidya. So, but thank you so much for the super chat, man. I really appreciate that. What I should do though, and I should have done this already. Let me see here. I want to see if I could get a picture of this. I want to show you this bundle very quickly, okay? Just because I feel like some people haven't seen it. Now, here's the thing, though. I haven't seen anything else on this bundle. Like, I've been seeing people like posting the picture, but I don't think Sony has officially announced this yet. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second to bring it up for you. For some reason, all right. Well, apparently I can't bring it up because it's being stupid, but not a big deal. I'm looking at this. Yeah, this is so the only place I've seen this bundle coming from is Zubitech, and it's weird because you immediately see some like fanboy arguments happening over something like this, which is so weird to me. Where like there are some PlayStation fans who think that this would be a good idea. Like a PlayStation PS5 bundle with 24 months of PlayStation Plus Premium. And, you see some people immediately starting to argue where it's like, oh, well, suddenly I guess gaming subscription services are good and okay. It's like come on, man. Like, if this is real, it's a bundle. It's a bundle, Like, it's going to be appealing to a certain demographic of people who are buying PlayStation 5s, and assuming it's priced fairly, Assuming it's priced fairly, I would assume that, yeah, I'm assuming that most people will be perfectly fine with it. Shelly, you're saying, did you see the Naughty Dog developer leak that The Last of Us Online will launch on a disc? A disc! MBG, that means it's not free to play. Shocked more people aren't covering it. Thoughts? Where? Shelly, I have no idea where this is coming from. Where? You'll have to let me know where this... I haven't seen anything. Is this like a new leak? I must have missed it. Because that's a pretty big deal. Del Walker? I've never heard of that individual. I'm not sure who that is. I don't know if that's like a developer or... Well, I will say this, though. That would be... I would not be opposed to that. Search it then. Yeah, I guess I could. Oh, is that Dom the Bomb? I'm thinking that's who you're talking about. Because that's what came up when I searched. You're saying he's a developer. Okay. Well, yeah, what I will say about that very quickly, because I didn't have that listed as a topic, but if that's true, that's very interesting to me. Because if they could, I don't know, if you search on Amazon or something like Fortnite, they do have like physical cases you can buy, but there's like no disc, you know? And these physical cases that you buy, they have like codes in them. I don't think Sony would do that. That'd be very weird. SD, you're saying in Reset Era, somebody posted a Chinese forum comment from somebody who said a new showcase is coming later this year with China Hero Project stuff as well. Huh. I mean, that's pretty ambiguous. You know? Like, I don't know if like a Chinese insider said that, but people are asking that question all the time. Is Sony holding a winter PlayStation showcase or another PlayStation showcase at the end of this year? How could they not? I mean, I guess if they really wanted to, they could choose to not do a showcase again this year. But to me, it just seems like, I don't know, man. They're pushing it pretty close if they do that. Because 2024 is a complete blank mark. You know, it's a complete question mark for Sony. I feel like Microsoft did reveal their hand with their show. I feel like everybody has a pretty good idea of what to expect from Microsoft in 2024. However, I feel like no one's really talking about PlayStation in 2024. And actually, it kind of, I don't know, man, it's not really a bad thing if you think about it. Like, I know it seems like it is, but if you really think about it, right now, Sony just wants the focus to be purely on Final Fantasy 16 and Spider-Man 2 back to back. That's what Sony wants the focus to be on. And so if they were to really, you know, decide that that's just going to take center stage, then they technically really don't have to do anything. I mean, obviously, I hope they do. But if they want to wait till like the very end of the year and just do some kind of like November or December showcase, they could do that. And it would actually make a lot of sense. It's like, we got Final Fantasy out. We got Spider-Man 2 out. Now tune in to see the next lineup. You know what I mean? That would actually line up really well. But who knows? Who knows if they're going to do that? I don't know who this individual is that you're saying posted this on some kind of forum. I don't know if they're an insider. It would be very interesting if this individual was actually some kind of reliable insider. Simply because like that would now be the second time we're hearing that from a, you know, insider. But I think we're kind of at a point with PlayStation and rumors and leaks. Like, I mean, I know we're talking about leaks today, but specifically with like event leaks, you know what I mean? Like showcase leaks. I think we're kind of at that point where people are like, you know, let's just wait and see what happens. And we have Gavin House gifting a membership. Let's get some W's in the chat for Gavin. Thank you so much, man, kicking things off today with a membership gift. Really do appreciate that, bud. Thank you for that support. Let me add that to the total here. So really appreciate it, dude. But yeah, the China Hero Project seems like Sony does have some good games coming out of that. Then Corey Lendiga comes in saying, "I'm back." I don't know why I read that, dude, in Arnold's voice. I just read Corey's chat in Arnold's voice. "I'm back." Love to see it, man. Glad you're here. Yeah, I took a little break as well. I was streaming a lot last week. I don't think I'm gonna be able to stream every day, you know, or even like 5 days a week or something. Because if you think about it, like, there are just going to be some slower weeks when it comes to news and stuff that's going on. And I don't just want to, crank out streams just for the sake of cranking them out. So they might become a little bit more spread out, but I don't know. I think it can work out better that way. It really just depends. It really just depends on what's going on any week. You know, like when there's really a lot going on, it's easy to stream like every day. But good to see you here, Corey, and thank you so much for the gift, Gavin. But just to get back to what I was talking about, because I didn't actually finish what I was saying about The Last of Us. Like, if The Last of Us is The Last of Us multiplayer game, if it's actually going to ship on a disc, I think that's great. Like, I fully anticipate, or I was anticipating, I should say, that The Last of Us multiplayer would be a free to play experience. But at the same time, like, it would also not be surprising if they decided we just want to make it a premium paid product. You know, I think it would limit the player base, but that could still work as well. And Corey comes back in, man, gifting another membership. Corey Landiga, the legend, he's back at it. Thank you so much. Following up Gavin. That brings us to 2 members on the day. Thank you guys so much for that support. I keep doing that, man. I bumped it up to 3 accidentally. Not a big deal. Yeah, W's in the chat for Corey. Love to see it, dude. Appreciate that. Give you a crazy Arnold laugh because he reminded me with the I'm back. You're saying it means it can't be abused by hackers and cheaters, since hackers would have to buy the game again and then get banned. It's an interesting, yeah. That I didn't think about that. You know, speaking of hackers and like ruining a multiplayer game, I saw that Bungie was trending on Twitter, and I looked into it a little bit, and man, I'm not a Destiny player, and I'm completely out of the loop with Destiny. And actually, Bungie is at the center of the next leak that we're going to discuss. But the player base, I don't know, at least with PvP, they're upset, man. Like, they're very, very upset. They are expressing a lot of frustration with the way that Bungie has handled PvP, which is interesting because that's actually one of the major leaks we're talking about. Apparently, major marathon gameplay leaks are out, which we're going to discuss momentarily. That's actually the next topic in line here, the next PlayStation leak. And so before I move on to that, just to finish what I was saying originally about this new PlayStation 5 bundle, chat, how much do you think a PlayStation 5 bundle that comes with 24 months of PlayStation Plus Premium would cost? How much do you think it would cost? I'm thinking like $600. I'm thinking $600. Because if you think about it, that's a lot. You're getting not only the PS5, but 2 years of PlayStation Plus Premium. I think $600. Rob Solid says, I love this community. We love you too, man. Zenzo76, you're saying, I hope the Final Fantasy 16 boycott is a joke. Is there a boycott? Really? This is the Zenzo. This is the first I'm hearing of this. A Final Fantasy 16 boycott. I don't think it's real, man. Oh, you know what, actually? You know what you did remind me of, Zenzo? And this makes me laugh. So I saw that there was some conversation happening about a petition that was supposedly created by, you would assume, a PlayStation fan. Because, you know, this is obviously what PlayStation players do. Why would they be playing games on their PS5 when they can make petitions? But there's this petition that came out, and it is pretty funny when you think about it. Because it's like, you got to be kidding me, man. Whoever made this, even if it's just a troll, where they are petitioning to not get Starfield onto PlayStation. It's not about bringing Starfield to PlayStation. They're petitioning to make Starfield exclusive to PlayStation. So this is how you know it's not real, you know? Like, it's obviously something that somebody did as a joke, but it's just so ridiculous, man. Yes, you heard that right, John. A petition to make Starfield a PlayStation exclusive. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, I couldn't help but laugh when I saw that. We don't just want it on PlayStation. We got to make it exclusive. You know, because I feel like if you were to see a petition for Starfield to be like multiplat, it's like, I still think that's kind of ridiculous because it's like, come on. But at the same time, at least that kind of makes sense. Like, okay, somebody's just a little bit upset that they're not going to be able to play Starfield on their PlayStation. But no, like whoever made this petition, they're just upset that it's not exclusive to PlayStation. Like, what? Crazy stuff, man. You're saying it was rumored to be before the Bethesda acquisition. That is true. Yeah, that was pretty strange to hear. There was a rumor before Microsoft acquired Bethesda that Sony was trying to lock in Starfield as a timed exclusive, which, man, imagine if that would have actually happened. That would have been a weird turn of events. I'll tell you what, if that were to have happened, you'd probably see a lot of PlayStation fans talking about a petition that Xbox fans made. You're saying that petition exists? Yeah, I know it does. I know it exists. But you know what? Before I stray too far away, yeah. So Zenzo, just to get back to your super chat, man, I didn't hear anything about a Final Fantasy 16 boycott, and honestly, even if there is some kind of like boycott, I don't think anybody is paying attention to it. Frankly, I think anybody who wants to buy and play Final Fantasy 16, I'm pretty sure has already made that decision. Yeah, he's saying there's no boycott. Yeah, I haven't heard of it, man. MBG PlayStation Plus added 27 games. That's crazy, man. The service is good. Yeah, I do. I mean, I feel like I don't talk about PlayStation Plus enough. And I think that's just due to the simple fact that I don't really interact with it that much. But I am impressed by it when I think about it, right? Because, like, I do try to put myself in the shoes of somebody who, like, maybe doesn't buy games physically, certainly not. And you're just, like, always kind of waiting to see what new games you might be able to play. I feel like PlayStation Plus Extra, it really does seem like such a great deal. And Premium, I mean, I don't know. A lot of people complain about Premium, and I get it. Because when I look each month at like what Sony's adding to Premium, it seems like it's very minimal. I'm assuming it will eventually improve, but I can understand the criticism for Premium. The irony, though, is that apparently more PlayStation Plus subscribers are actually subscribed to the higher Premium tier than the lower or the middle Extra tier. So, saying Sony won't even put demos on it. I did see that Insomniac confirmed they're not doing a Spider-Man 2 demo. I can't say I'm surprised about that, but it's interesting because I guess there were some people who were thinking maybe, I don't know, maybe Insomniac's going to do a Spider-Man 2 demo. I don't think it would help the game. I mean, maybe it would a little bit, but I feel like, I don't know, Spider-Man is just, it's kind of going to sell itself. But yeah, that's the first topic I wanted to discuss with you guys today. I do want to make it known that this leaked PlayStation 5 bundle, I looked over on Zubitech's Twitter, and some people in the replies of his tweet showing this bundle are under the impression that this is like fan made, like Zubitech made this, or it's like Photoshop and it's not actually a real bundle. So I don't know. I don't think he's commented on it. But people seem to be under the impression that this is either like a fan made bundle and it's not real, or it's actually about to be announced by Sony. So we'll have to see. But there you go, man. I wouldn't be surprised. To me, it's a smart move. Sony, PS5, 24 months of PlayStation Plus Premium. It's a great way to sell your console, but also get people kind of, invested in the subscription service. So, and we got Corey Landiga coming in. Yeah, Corey the GOAT. Corey coming in, gifting 5 memberships. Let's get, well, you guys are already ahead of me. I'm seeing W's all over the chat. Thank you so much, Corey. I'll give you a Keanu and a crazy Arnold laugh. Really appreciate that, dude. Appreciate the continued support. That brings us up to 7 on the day. So yeah, anybody in the chat right now, if you are a member, consider maybe paying it forward. Feel inspired by Corey here. Consider gifting a membership of your own if you so desire. Okay, so that's the first topic out of the way. Guys, make sure you hit that like button for me as well. Let's see if we can get to 200 likes. The next leak talks about Bungie. Now, how many of you guys are excited for Marathon? I think there might be some people who are not even aware of Marathon's existence. Maybe they missed it at the showcase, but for those who are unaware, Marathon was revealed at the PlayStation showcase. PlayStation's 2023 showcase. It was one of the multiplayer CGI trailers that was shown. It's Bungie's next proper game. And it's worth noting that Marathon is actually not a new IP. Marathon was actually created by Bungie, I think, in the 90s. So they're just kind of reviving it, and they're completely overhauling it, I guess, and bringing it back. And we have Jay Pierce. Jay Pierce coming in, following up Corey Landiga, gifting a membership of his own. Thank you so much, Jay Pierce. I've been seeing you gifting more often as well, man. So shout out to you for that. Let's get some W's in the chat for Jay. Jay, what soundbite would you like? I'm thinking you want an Arnold, right? I feel like that's what most people request when I ask. Do you want an Arnold soundbite? I got an Arnold. I got a Keanu. I got a Jim Ryan. I got a Mark Cerny. That's so weird. But I appreciate it, dude. And yeah, you want a Jim Ryan.
We're gonna have the games.
Jay says he wants a Jim Ryan. Let the games do the talking. I love that quote from Jim Ryan. You know, I think that's the best Jim Ryan quote, right? I feel like if Jim Ryan, when he became the CEO of PlayStation, if that was the only thing he ever said, that'd be pretty awesome. Like, that's the only thing he ever said publicly. We'll just let the games do the talking. All right. So yeah, Bungie's Marathon. We have Insider Gaming's Tom Henderson leaking exclusive details about Marathon, and I think this is pretty relevant because even though the Marathon CG trailer, it did give you a pretty good idea of what to expect. It did give you a pretty good idea of what to expect, but, you know, people are still, like, wondering, okay, but, like, is this going to be like, you know, Destiny? Is it going to be like Halo? What's it going to be like? Well, we have those details here. And, yeah, so I also do want to let you guys know, Marathon, even though Sony owns Bungie, right? And we know PlayStation loves their exclusive games. Bungie, you know, when they were acquired by Sony, it was made clear that none of their games are going to be exclusive. And Marathon, even though it is technically a PlayStation Studios title now, it's coming to Xbox. So, you know, we might see when Marathon releases, you might see the PlayStation Studios logo popping up on an Xbox console and whatnot. But I think that was to be expected. It's kind of crazy how this has all turned out, though. But anyway, let's read this article. So again, from Tom Henderson, he says, late last year, Insider Gaming exclusively reported early details on Bungie's new Marathon game, and now we've reapproached our sources to get more in-depth details. If you're unaware, Bungie's next shooter, dubbed Marathon, was officially revealed at this year's PlayStation Showcase with a short CGI trailer. Bungie's Brian Ekberg dived a little deeper into what Marathon entails, including confirming all the details we previously reported. So what exactly is Marathon? Marathon is a 3-person extraction shooter with features that you might find familiar in games you play like Escape from Tarkov. However, if you're not a fan of playing as a team, it is understood that you can jump into a server as a duo or solo if you wish, but you'll still face bigger teams. Extracting without your team is also seemingly a feature. One of the biggest and potentially controversial features within the game is an oxygen system. All players have a limited oxygen supply that essentially acts like a match countdown timer. Once the player loses oxygen, you begin to lose health. Extracting before you run out of oxygen and health is the goal, but players can also find O2 canisters in the match or subsequently buy them at an expensive price on the market before heading into battle. The oxygen system also ties somewhat into the injury system of Marathon, with certain injuries causing the player to suffer different effects. For example, being shot in the waist area may cause damage to your oxygen supply, which will cause it to deplete more rapidly. Another example given was being concussed, which would cause the player's screen to blur periodically. If your oxygen supply does become a huge hindrance, though, Marathon's ability and perk systems can solve that. We're all familiar with perks and abilities in shooter games now, so I won't bore you, but yes, perks include the likes of faster revives, less O2 usage, faster movement in the water, etc. Abilities are more game-changing and powerful, allowing the likes of night vision to spot enemy outlines. The more the player progresses, the more perks and abilities they unlock. The article's almost over here. Let me just read the last section so we get all the information. It finishes by saying several more interesting details that we've mentioned several times by sources were that Bungie was aiming for Marathon to be, quote, the ultimate live service, end quote. To achieve this, the team is aiming to have minimal load times, with one source saying that the team is aiming for a single-digit load time from readying up to playing on the server. For replayability, it was said that Marathon's maps will have plenty of secrets for players to explore. Presumably, new secrets will come to the maps throughout the game's seasons. The core gameplay loop of Marathon is as follows. Choose your missions to complete in the game. Buy/choose your loadout/perks, abilities, and gear. Drop into a server. Hunt for loot. Complete missions. Explore and find secrets. Extract. Spend your experience points on upgrades. Rinse and repeat. The game features 3 different types of items: loot, implants, and perks. In the current game, permadeath is a feature, but it's understood that players will only lose their loot, your weapons, your artifacts, your currency, etc., whereas implants are sometimes lost and perks are never lost. It's understood that Bungie is currently developing 3 different maps for Marathon, but if all 3 released on launch, if they're going to release on launch, remains to be seen. So this is quite a bit of information we're getting about, like, very detailed information about the gameplay loop and everything that's going to be part of Marathon. And I see at least one person in the chat asking this question, and the article did not answer this question, so I'll answer it for you guys. Some people are wondering what is an extraction shooter? So basically, an extraction shooter is you get dumped into a map. And usually it's with a team of like 2, 3, 4 players. In this case, with Marathon, it's going to be 3 players. You get dumped into a large map. This map it's likely to be the size of like what you would expect in, let's say, a battle royale. That's kind of the size of these maps. Like, they're very large maps. Corey, I see you asking, where's Boss? He's actually behind me. If you look over my shoulder here, I moved the cat tower, so he's actually sleeping at the top of the cat tower. But yeah, an extraction shooter is you get dumped into these maps, and a lot of times extraction shooters feature both PvP and PvE. So as you're going around the map, you might encounter AI enemies, and you kill these enemies, you take them on, or you do your mission, maybe it is to kill a group of enemies, and then you basically spend your time in that map looting, and you're looting for new items, new gear, and you carry as much as you can. But the big twist here is that there are other real players scattered throughout the map doing the exact same thing you are. And you kind of have to make your choice. Do you want to engage with these other players? If you do, it's high risk, high reward. If you get into a firefight with 3 other players, if you kill them, you get to take all their loot. So you basically just doubled your loot potentially. But at the same time, if they kill you, you lose everything. And that's kind of the risk reward system. And the whole extraction aspect is you have to actually extract yourself from the map. It's not like round based necessarily. You have to get in, get what you need, complete your mission, and get out. And there's going to be a lot of friction in between that. And that friction could come in the form of playing against, again, like encountering real players, other players that are going to try to stop you and are trying to achieve their goal, or if there's like really tough AI enemies. So it sounds really interesting to me. It does. It sounds interesting, but I don't know, man. A lot of people, like, again, as it says, this is Bungie's ultimate live service. Is Bungie truly moving on from Destiny with Marathon? It kind of sounds like they are. Sounds like Marathon is going to be their next big thing. The Contextual Gamer, thank you so much for the $10 super chat, man. You're saying the funny thing is games made with the PS5 as the ceiling are better for it. Imagine if Ghostwire Tokyo targeted Xbox first. You're saying Ghost of Tsushima 2, or sorry, I don't know why did I read that as Ghost of Tsushima 2? Got 2 Final Fantasy 16 controllers coming. Man, I just see GOT and I just read Ghost of Tsushima. That's crazy. Saying you have 2 Final Fantasy 16 controllers coming. My coworker got PTO from the 22nd to the 25th and cited emergency. Hey man, it is an emergency. A new mainline Final Fantasy game is dropping. I gotta take time off. This is an emergency situation. But that's good to hear, man. So actually, I'm gonna divert for a moment here. I'm gonna come back to Marathon because there's a little bit more I want to say about it before moving on. But I'm gonna divert here based off your super chat. So I just want to put this out there because I'm gonna be so interested to see what happens. Multiple people who are currently reviewing Final Fantasy 16, they're not allowed to reveal that they are reviewing Final Fantasy 16, but they have been putting out posts showing their PS5 automatically shutting down because they were saying like, I'm playing this new game on my PlayStation 5 that I can't talk about yet. And it like this one scene or this one section like caused my PS5 to shut down. And they were basically recommending for anybody who's going to play Final Fantasy 16, you might want to seriously consider taking the plates off of your PS5 and cleaning it out. And that is interesting to me because I don't know, man. Like, I've never had that happen with my PlayStation 5, but I have a launch model PS5 and it's been a long time since I've cleaned it. So I'm actually kind of glad that I was given this warning. And that's why I'm kind of relaying it to everybody here. I don't think it has anything to do with the PS5. Like, you're saying a console killer? Yeah, it's going to kill it. It could. I mean, dude, that would be cataclysmic. I don't think it's a huge deal necessarily. If there's one thing that we do know is these consoles, especially the PS5, like it has an actual dust collector because it'll get pretty dusty. And I could imagine if you're somebody, I don't know, who has never cleaned your console at all, you might want to be wary of that because, I mean, these games like Final Fantasy 16, they really are starting to kind of push what these consoles can do now. And so I'm going to do that. I'm actually going, I mean, I played the demo for Final Fantasy 16 and my console was fine, but I'm going to take my plates off before I play Final Fantasy 16. And, you know, I'm going to just dust it out and everything, make sure it's good to go. Cause that's what they were saying. Like, the people who were posting these images, as far as I'm aware, they were basically saying like, you know, you just got to clean your console out. I mean, you look at some of the scenes in Final Fantasy 16, it's like, yeah, this console's, yeah, it seems like Final Fantasy 16, some of the things that are going on with this game are actually pushing the PS5 like quite a bit, potentially. So we'll see, man. We'll see. But yeah, the hype is there. You got 2 Final Fantasy 16 controllers. That's pretty awesome, dude. We're going to get into this conversation later, the Contextual Gamer. We're going to talk about, the ceiling of the PS5. We have something to talk about in one of these topics coming up. Do a cleaning video for the PlayStation 5. Yeah, I'll show you how to clean out your PS5. I would, but I'm pretty sure there's already a ton of videos out there already showing you. But getting back to Marathon here, and thank you so much for the super chat, man. Getting back to Marathon. So the reason why Marathon is a game we want to pay attention to, it's because, dude, let's keep in mind, Sony purchased Bungie for $3.6 billion. They're clearly betting on this game. Like, Sony is betting on this extraction shooter, and Bungie is betting on it. And I'm intrigued. I can't say that I'm like super excited for Marathon. I want to see gameplay, obviously, just like everybody else. But the extraction shooter is not necessarily new. It's not. It's been around for a little while now, and it's gonna be really interesting to see Bungie's take on it, because it sounds like they have a pretty solid gameplay loop here. The thing that really kind of stands out to me is how when Bungie talks about Marathon, and they want Marathon to be the ultimate live service, and the way they're going to achieve that is by making it so that you can just instantaneously get into matches. Like, you extract it from your match, boom, you get right back into another. Extract, boom, get right back. That's pretty interesting to me. Like, I guess I have a difficult time imagining that will keep people. I don't know. Like, does that matter to people? Does that matter when it comes to like keeping people stuck to your game? Like, we got to just keep getting them in the matches over and over again. Like, don't let them leave, basically. Because I don't know. I don't think I've ever viewed it like that. Like, every time there's kind of like a loading screen, like a minute long or 2 minute long, not a loading screen, but like a loadout screen where it doesn't just immediately shoot you right into another match. I kind of like that a little bit. Like, I like having that breathing room. MBG Sony is also betting on Matter, the game from ex-Valorant director. It's in the incubation phase. It's a hero shooter. Ugh, I don't know about that, man. Hero shooters, I have to say, a game like Marathon appeals to me so much more than a hero shooter does. You know? Like, if I'm choosing between these live service games, an extraction shooter just sounds so much cooler to me. Maybe I don't know. I just kind of like that. Like, I feel like it's basically the difference between, do you like more tactical, thoughtful, methodical gameplay, or do you like more like competitive, like hyper competitive, possibly fast paced gameplay? And for me, like, when I think of an extraction shooter, that sounds pretty awesome, right? Like, the idea of high risk, high reward. You can kind of maybe play stealth if you want. You don't necessarily have to engage with other players and enemies. You can kind of just sneak around, loot, take care of your mission, and then also just the high stakes. You know, the high stakes of when you get into a firefight and you get into an engagement, knowing that, dude, if you screw this up and they get the drop on you, you just lost all the progress you made. You know, all that loot. Like, it's just interesting, you know? Imagine going into a map, spend like 15 minutes doing your mission, 10 minutes maybe, you come across this really like rare piece of loot, and you're just super excited. You're like, holy crap, this is like a legendary item I just came across. I got to get out of here. And it just suddenly like, it just goes from like 0 to 100, where it's like, now, you know, Corey says he's got to go back to work. I appreciate you stopping by, man, and thank you for the membership gifts. Hopefully, we'll catch you in the next stream, Corey. Appreciate it, bud. But just the idea from it going from 0 to 100 in an instant, where like now it's like, okay, I got to get out of here, and I don't know, man. I don't know if like I don't know if you will, if like other players in the map will get like notified. I think like that's a popular thing. Like, in order to extract, you can't just leave immediately. It takes, you know, you basically have to call in the extraction and it will notify other players. So you basically have to defend yourself. It sounds like it could be pretty cool, man. So yeah, Bungie, the thing about them is they're a very, very talented studio. As we know, they have a lot of, I think they have a lot of pressure on them. Honestly, they have a lot of pressure on them. How are you going to follow up Destiny? And I think that they're one of the few studios that very likely will be able to properly follow that up. So those are all the details that we got leaked from Tom Henderson regarding Bungie's Marathon. And who knows, maybe Sony is planning to show off some gameplay of Marathon later this year. Guess we'll have to wait and find out. But yeah, so the next topic we're going to move on to here talks about Microsoft making an unexpected statement. Okay, and this one to me it's kind of a follow-up to what we talked about. So to kind of refresh people on this, okay? Last week, Phil Spencer came out and he was asked if they're going to do a mid-gen refresh console. And he just said no. He said there's no plans for that right now, and they're just not planning on doing that. And the reason why I covered it last week was because I thought it was really weird that it's like, hold on, we've gotten so many rumors from very credible leakers, specifically Tom Henderson again, saying that, yeah, a PS5 Pro is 100% happening. In fact, it's actually like the dev kits are being given out to developers in like the next month or so. I'm like, hold on. So you're telling me we might see a scenario where Xbox or Sony releases a PlayStation 5 Pro and then Microsoft just doesn't have anything to offer? They just decided we're not doing that. That sounds kind of crazy to me, but apparently this is what Xbox is planning. So check this out. I have an article here from WCCF Tech. It says the Xbox Series X is considered by Microsoft to be its mid-gen refresh, as the Xbox Series S is their standard machine. Recently, Microsoft confirmed it has no plans to release a mid-gen refresh for its current generation consoles. And apparently, this is due to the company considering the Xbox Series X as its mid-gen refresh already, according to a fresh reveal. Speaking during the latest episode of the Digital Foundry Weekly podcast, it was revealed that back when Microsoft showed the Xbox Series X console to Digital Foundry, they said that the console is their mid-gen refresh, as they consider the Xbox Series S as their standard machine. And they just decided to release it ahead of time to offer what players might have gotten from a mid-gen refresh right from the start. This is a rather interesting reveal considering the difference in power between the two consoles, and how developers haven't had too many good things to say about the Series S. While Microsoft is not planning a mid-gen refresh for the Xbox Series X, it seems like Sony is working on an improved PlayStation 5 model, as the Japanese company is planning to release a PS5 Pro late next year, according to rumors. Not much is currently known about this new system, but more could be coming in the near future, as development kits are apparently shipping soon to developers. Alongside the rumored PS5 Pro, Sony is also said to be working on a PS5 with a detachable disk drive. So, yeah, this to me was actually really surprising, because I would have told you, well, I did tell you in my last stream, I told you how, or maybe it was the stream before that, Phil Spencer could just be saying this, right? Like, he could just be saying, like, oh, we don't have any plans right now for a mid-gen refresh. And I said that, look, things could change, and they still could, but I don't know, I just didn't fully believe what he was saying, because I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm pretty sure you guys are going to do a mid-gen refresh. But then Digital Foundry comes in and they're like, this is what they told us at the launch. They literally said that the Xbox Series X is our mid-gen refresh. And that, to me, really solidifies that, oh, I don't think they're actually doing a mid-gen refresh this time. Because that's kind of crazy, you know? Like, I'm just really surprised that Microsoft would do it that way. You know? Like, that. It is surprising to me that Microsoft would, because I feel like everybody was kind of in agreement that the Xbox Series X is the baseline console. But I guess not, right? MBG, it makes sense why they don't do it, and PlayStation does. Digital Foundry explains it pretty thoroughly in their latest video. So I did watch it. I watched that entire segment from Digital Foundry, and Digital Foundry seems to be completely against Sony doing a mid-gen refresh with the PS5 Pro. And I listened to their reasoning, and I think it's understood. Like, they present good reasons. They do. And you have to understand, Digital Foundry, they're technical minded. They're thinking from the most technical point of view, and their reasoning for Sony not doing a PS5 Pro it honestly is the most obvious reason. But from a technical standpoint, it's also true. And that is, like, we just haven't really seen developers truly tap into these new consoles yet. Like, maybe we've gotten like glimpses here and there, but most of this gen so far has been just kind of an extension of last gen. And it just seemed like things really took a lot longer to fully transition. And so basically their argument is that, how much of an improvement would you see with the PS5 Pro? That remains to be seen. And whatever that improvement with the PS5 Pro is, you also have to consider the price point. So presumably, the more of an improvement the PS5 Pro is, the more expensive it's going to be. And also, are developers going to be able to handle it? Now, I'm not here to throw shade at Digital Foundry. Okay? I like them, and I think they're very respectable. It's just I am a little bit confused. Well, you know what? All right, hold on. It's worth noting, I don't really listen to Digital Foundry that often, but I just find it kind of strange that this conversation seems to come up with the PS5 Pro, where it's like, we're going to give developers more work, and it's going to be even more of a load on them to optimize. I'm just like, dude, Microsoft has been doing this from the start. And a lot of people have been telling me over and over again that it's totally fine. That the Series S is totally fine and there's nothing wrong with it. But now suddenly if Sony wants to do a PS5 Pro, it's like, well, I don't know about that. It's like, what? Like, I just think it's a little unfair. But it's kind of funny if you think about it, right? Like, it's funny how Sony and Microsoft are actually seemingly going in opposite directions. Microsoft has made the choice to go down. Like rather than going up with a more powerful console, they just chose to actually, we're going to go down. And we're going to get a better price point for that. And if you think about it from Microsoft's perspective, well, if you have Game Pass as your primary selling point, like that's the priority, it kind of makes sense why you would go down and not up. Because when you go up, you're going to be asking people to pay even more money. Sony's going the other way though. And that, I have to say, that is way more appealing to me. It's way more appealing to me that Sony is going to do a Pro. Like, I totally understand that there are a lot of people that are like, I don't care about a Pro. I think it's unnecessary. I just, I think the PS5 is perfectly fine. I get that. But I also don't see a problem with the PS5 Pro. Buck, thank you for the $10, man. You're saying, don't fall for it, MBG. Microsoft will release a year after the PS5 Pro with a more powerful machine. Xbox's 10-year COD offer to Sony had a beyond parity clause. COD can't look better on PS5 Pro until the next Xbox is out. Well, that's the thing, Buck. I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm falling for anything, because I understand that what Phil Spencer's saying now, where he says we have no plans for a mid-gen refresh, that absolutely could change. I have no doubt about that. I'm not saying that if we get a PS5 Pro next year and we just get nothing from Microsoft, I don't think that automatically means Microsoft is guaranteed to not do one. Like, they could change their mind at the last moment. If you know what Microsoft could be doing, they could just be waiting and watching. They could be aware of the fact that Sony apparently is doing a Pro, and they just want to let Sony go out there and do it and see how it goes. Like, are people okay with it? How expensive? What's the price point going to be? Like, how much would somebody pay for a PS5 Pro? Would you pay $600 for a PS5 Pro? I would. I mean, as long as it feels like, the improvements they're offering are worth it. Even higher resolutions, even more ray tracing, maybe even smoother frame rates. Like, all those things that I think people would expect. Saying it's going to be $700. Ooh. That's the thing. If Sony were to sell a PS5 Pro for $700, they would have to have some. I would have a hard time ever believing that could happen, because it's just like, at that point, you're basically selling a PlayStation 6, right? like $700? That is crazy. So, yeah, so I don't think many people. If Sony were to, I could tell you this right now, and this is just the truth. If Sony were to go beyond $600 for a Pro, they would get laughed at. People would make fun of that. And I'm not saying people wouldn't buy it. I think there would be a certain group. I'd probably buy it. There would be people who would buy it, but it would get laughed at, because everybody would just think like, dude, no one's going to pay that for, you know what I mean? But I think $600 is possible. I think a $600 PS5 Pro is practical. I think that's like kind of at a point where a lot of people would be like, oof, no thanks. But I think there would also still be quite a few people that are like, yeah, I want a Pro. I'll buy it. I'll pay $600. I mean, let's not forget, a lot of people paid $600 for the PS3. Granted, that was a brand new generation. But Buck, to get back to your super chat here, again, it's not that I don't think Sony won't, or Microsoft won't actually do a mid-gen refresh. I just think that they don't have much of they really don't have much of a reason to. Think about it. If Sony comes out with a PS5 Pro, Sony, if they come out unmatched, they're going to be able to come out here and be like, we got the most powerful console by like a wide margin. Like, we could see conversations happening where it's like the PS5 Pro stomps the Xbox Series X. In fact, if Sony is doing a PS5 Pro and it is going to be announced next year, I could see that happening. However, the question is, does Microsoft care? If we go based off of everything that Microsoft has said so far this generation about the console, I don't think they do care, man. Like, I just think they just want to have an option out there for people. And if you want the powerful option, there's the Series X. Saying, I don't get why this matters to MBG. It's because it's very fascinating to me to think that we are going to go through this generation, and within the next year, we're going to see Sony come out and flex the power narrative with a Pro, and then Microsoft is just not going to do anything. That's really, really interesting to me. And we have Zombie Dragon coming in, gifting another membership. Let's get some W's in the chat for Zombie Dragon. Thank you so much for that, bud. That brings us up to 9 members on the day. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the support you guys continue to share the channel. Yeah, keep it going, guys. Keep the membership train going. It means a lot to me. I'm still trying my best to keep the memberships flowing. I know a lot of people have really enjoyed getting gifted memberships, so appreciate that, guys. You're saying this happened last generation as well, and then the 1X arrived. Yeah, but if I'm not mistaken, and maybe I am, maybe I didn't pay close enough attention. You guys remind me. I feel like when the PS4 Pro was in the works and when it was coming, there was also like information out there about Xbox having their own mid-gen refresh. Wasn't there? Is it just me? Or was that not a thing? I could have swore that was a thing. And we have Jay Pierce and Domingo813 both coming in, gifting memberships. Getting a little member train going. Thank you guys so much. Jay Pierce, Domingo813. Let's get some W's in the chat, guys. That brings us up to 11 members on the day. Love to see it, guys. Really appreciate that support. Means a lot. Domingo says, give me the Cerny sound. Yes, sir.
It's dangerous to rely
there you go.
on teraflops as an absolute.
Dangerous to rely on those T-flops. Domingo knew exactly what he wanted. I'll take one Mr. Cerny, please. Dude, I hope we get to... Speaking of a PS5 Pro, I think that's one of the reasons I'm excited for a Pro. Because I just want to see... I want to hear what Mark Cerny's doing. I want him to come back out and talk to me again about hardware. I want Mark Cerny to come out and talk to me about PlayStation hardware. Okay? It's been too long. We haven't heard from Mark Cerny in a while. And I think we're overdue for that. Hearing Mark Cerny makes me feel smart. Yeah, I hear you, dude. The dude says, I want to hear Xbox fanboys cry when they don't get a Pro and say the Pro is stupid. Oh, that will happen. Yeah, that's one of the things is if Sony really is doing a PS5 Pro and Microsoft doesn't have any plans to match them, we're going to hear a lot about how pointless the Pro is. And to be fair, like, it's too early to say. Because I did see somebody in the chat earlier ask, how would Sony even market a PS5 Pro? I'm not sure. I think they can. I think they will. I've talked to you guys about this, how, like, to me, it just seems obvious. Like, show Wolverine. Show GTA 6. Oh, what about that? Wolverine and GTA 6 being advertised alongside a PS5 Pro, suddenly it justifies itself. See what I mean? Like, it's... The reality is all Sony has to do to sell a PS5 Pro is just... Here's a new PS5 console, and here's some games running on it. That's it, man. That's all that's going to be required. Just like for the PS5. Josh, or really quick, Cuddy Can't Hang comes in. Cuddy Can't Hang, and he delivers another membership gift. Thank you so much, Cuddy. I really appreciate that, man. I really appreciate that. What soundbite would you like, man? You let me know. I'll try to catch it in the chat. Yeah, W's in the chat for Cuddy. That brings us up to 12 on the day, guys. See if we can hit our goal today at some point. I really appreciate that. Saying no way Sony would put more work on developers. Well, that's the thing. You want the Arnold? I'll give you an Arnold. There you go. Hey, come on. Sorry, my cats are trying to interrupt the flow here. There's your Arnold, man. I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. You talk about Sony putting more work on developers. I don't think it would be that bad. Josh, thank you for the super chat, man. You're saying, I finished Hogwarts and then got a few rounds of PSVR 2 poker and mini golf yesterday with some friends. Final Fantasy 16 in a couple days. My gaming life is healthy right now. That is a healthy gaming life, man. That's a diverse gaming life. I was just talking about PSVR 2 last night with some of my friends and how, like, you know, they're not sold on it yet, but I was talking about Firewall Ultra, and it's, I don't know, man, like, that's really the game I'm waiting for PSVR 2. That's what it is. I hope we hear more about it soon, man, but that is a healthy gaming life. Yeah, I've cleared the way for Final Fantasy 16. Right now, I'm not playing anything purposely because 2 days, and I'm not going to say right now, like, I'm not going to say it definitively because I don't know. I haven't looked at the trophy list, but a part of me wants to go for the platinum for Final Fantasy 16. I do not know how difficult that's going to be, but I want to just get totally immersed in the game, you know? Like, my goal is to just try to do everything I can in Final Fantasy 16, and then when I'm done, I'll check the trophies and see which ones I got to do to clean up. But that's my goal, man, and I'm planning on just putting all my time into it. Saying the platinum is difficult, requires 2 playthroughs. Got to do Final Fantasy mode. It's all good though. Like, I think it'll be. I don't know, man. I think it'll be fine because it's like if I'm enjoying it, then no problem. I'm assuming after my first playthrough, I'll feel like I've mastered the game, right, or close to it. So I naturally probably would go for a new game plus. It sounds like they're going all in with this Final Fantasy mode. So hell yeah, dude. Happy to hear it, Josh. Buck, again, thank you for the $5, man. You're saying if Xbox owns Call of Duty, Forza Tech, Creation 2, and new id Tech engine, why worry about Pro going first? The engine is as important as the hardware. Unreal 5 hits next year. That is true. That is true. And that is what one of the things that Digital Foundry brought up, where they were basically pointing out that the biggest reason we haven't seen these new gen consoles really tapped into is not because developers are lazy or anything like that, but it's simply because the game engines, like it takes time to bring these engines up and really optimize those engines and configure them to just get them to work perfectly and really kind of extract everything out of the hardware. And yeah, I think that's normal. I just, I kind of think it's just going to be a situation where you are right when you mention like all the different game engines that Microsoft is going to own. But to me, Sony deciding to do a PS5 Pro just takes that into account. You know what I mean? Where it's like, if we get a PS5 Pro in the 4th year of the PS5's life cycle, and the developers are like, okay, well, this is how far our engine has come, and this is how far we can kind of push our game, on this hardware. Having something like a Pro is just essentially, as far as I can tell, just going to be able to like brute force a little bit more out of it. And that's the thing, because like when people talk about like developers are going to have to do more work for a PS5 Pro, and that's just ultimately adding more work for a developer. That is true, obviously, but if there's one thing we've learned about Mark Cerny and his approach to hardware creation, is whenever he creates hardware, he's trying to factor that in. Like, how do we make it as easy as possible for developers to just get something out of this console? They don't have to get everything out of it, but just to get something. And I feel like that's where the Pro is going to come in, where it's like it should be very, very, very easy, at least I assume, for developers to get a little something out of the Pro for their games. Or maybe even a lot, depending on just how powerful the Pro is. You know what I mean? Like, they're not working down, they're working up. And I feel like scaling up is... I'm not a developer, so I could be totally out of pocket right now. But I feel like scaling up is probably a little bit easier than scaling down, simply for the fact that it's just like, here's how much headroom you have. It's like, oh, okay, well, if our game is like here, right, on a PS5, and then the ceiling for a Pro is like here, we could probably just easily get it to here, no problem. So we're getting a little, you know what I mean? To whereas I feel like when you're scaling down, it just seems like you're just more confined. Again, I could be wrong. I'm not a developer, but to me, it just always kind of seems like it's easier to work with some overhead than it is to have to worry about, okay, we can't go out of bounds here. We gotta slim it down, Dark Demon Media says, how do I get a gift membership? Well, gift memberships are automatically doled out. So anybody who does gift a membership, they're just automatically dispersed. YouTube says that the people who are most active on the channel, like that's kind of the order in which gifts are given out. So the more active you are in the channel, the higher the chance at some point you should get a membership gift. But it also depends on how many membership gifts are being given out. So hopefully that helps. You're saying Sony devs making a PS4 version, a PS5 version, and a PS5 Pro version. Come on, buddy. Well, dude, that's the thing. There's going to be no more PS4 versions. And the idea of making a PS5 version probably just will come in the form of like, again, like higher resolutions, you know, ray tracing, stuff that can scale up. And we have Zagatka. Huge shout out to Zagatka for coming out and gifting another membership. That brings us up to 13 members on the day. Guys, let's get some W's in the chat. Zagatka, what soundbite would you like, man? Let me know. I appreciate that, dude. Thank you for keeping the membership train going. No more choosing between performance and fidelity. I don't get why people don't get that. I think you want Arnold. All right. There you go, man. There's your crazy Arnold. Thank you, Zagatka. Appreciate that, bud. I think people do get that. I just think that they're not totally convinced. And to be fair, I'm not totally convinced either. Like, if Sony can promise that with a Pro, I'm getting a Pro day one. If Sony does a PS5 Pro and they can promise you don't have to choose between performance and fidelity, you get both. You know? Then boom. Yeah, I'm there day one. I don't know, though. I mean, I know people have been talking a lot about Starfield recently, where it's like, you know, Starfield's going to be at 30 frames. So it's like, well, maybe a mid-gen refresh is needed. But the question is this, like, I don't think that's the case. Like, I think Starfield is kind of an anomaly in a way, you know, where based off of everything I've looked into with Starfield, that game is CPU bound and has just so many different systems working that it would just apparently, yeah, it would just, it's not possible basically to do 60 with the amount of stuff that game's got going on these consoles. But that's the thing, man. Is like, okay, well, that's Starfield, but let's look at Sony, right? I mean, Final Fantasy 16 is a performance mode, and granted, it's not perfect. They have to put a little bit more work into it, and they're going to fully optimize it. And I think the assumption is Final Fantasy 16 will get up to that smooth 60 FPS, maybe after it's the first major update. Which, you know, it sucks that we got to wait for that, but still, the performance mode as it is still functions decently well. Spider-Man 2. I mean, are we thinking Spider-Man 2 isn't going to have 60 FPS? I don't think so. I think Spider-Man 2 is definitely going to have a 60 FPS performance mode on the PS5. Okay, what about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Yeah, I think so. Okay, what about Wolverine? I don't see why not. And that's why I think Starfield really is just kind of a game that's it is doing things differently than most other games, and because of that, it's just kind of has to sit in this box on it. Because like, let's look at Microsoft's other games, right? Do we think that Hellblade isn't going to have a 60 FPS mode? Do we think that Fable isn't going to have a 60 FPS mode? What about Forza? You know, what about Avowed? Like, I think when we look at all of these games, we probably just look at each other and are like, they're all probably going to have a 60 FPS performance mode. But what do they all have in common? They're nothing like Starfield. So I do view Starfield kind of as like this anomalous game where like no other development teams, and that's honestly why so many people are excited for it, where it's like you're not getting a game like this from Xbox Studios or PlayStation Studios. You're getting a game like this from Bethesda. You know what I mean? Like, you're not getting it from Nintendo, you're not getting it from Activision, you're not getting it from EA. It's Bethesda. Like, you know what I mean? That's kind of the charm. That's the big appeal of this is the Bethesda RPG. And so you're saying, there is no excuse for Redfall. But Redfall's nothing like Starfield either, you know? Like, the point that I'm trying to make is that I don't think we're going to see this massive cutoff anytime soon. We might. This is all speculation, but I just don't think we're going to see a massive cutoff anytime soon where it's just suddenly out of nowhere the 60 FPS performance modes are dropping like flies. Like, they're just not happening anymore. I don't see that being a thing. Now, maybe like towards the very end of the generation. You're saying Unreal Engine 5 is very demanding. Okay, maybe that could play a factor into it. Michael Lynch, thank you for the super chat, man. You're saying, I'm 10 minutes behind. A PS5 is an Audi S5. A PS5 Pro is a 911 Turbo. An Audi S5 is just fine for anybody. But for the people that want more performance, that 911 Turbo is there. I love the analogy, man. I love the analogy. I'm not a big car guy myself, but that's interesting. I mean, I've seen, there's been many people over the years that have given me different analogies using cars, and I don't know, man. I that's kind of how I'm viewing it, right? Like, I do look at a PS5 Pro just as something where it's like, if you want some extra performance, it's not going to be next generation performance. That's going to be for the PlayStation 6. But if you want some extra performance, here you go, and you pay a premium for that. You know, I think that that's just a perfectly fine thing to have. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, if reports started coming out that like developers are struggling to like make games for the PS5 and the PS5 Pro, I would want Sony to scrap the PS5 Pro. You know what I mean? Because like, if it starts to get in the way, it's not necessary. At that point, I would rather just focus on a single SKU, just focus on the PS5. It's not worth it. It's not worth the problems. But I don't think that'll happen. You know? So I appreciate the super chat, Michael. I appreciate the analogy. Buck, you're saying Xbox supports the most powerful PC down to Steam Deck or Asus handheld. Xbox is first to, and in handheld, Sony is years behind. We have to think beyond console. Yeah, well, I feel like there's some truth. Yeah, it's hard to say, man. Like, the question that I think PlayStation fans have to ask themselves is, how much is Sony thinking beyond the console? Because we know Microsoft is well beyond the console. Like, Microsoft really is. That Microsoft is all about, like, yeah, we're gonna scale all the way down and all the way up. But then again, it's clear that Sony is thinking beyond the console to a certain extent. We see them putting games on the PC. The Last of Us 1 just finally got Steam Deck verified. It's a tough call, man. I think it's easy for a lot of people to say we have to think beyond the console, but at the same time, it's worth considering, like, look, Sony's probably kind of thinking beyond the console a little bit, but probably not that much, because their console's breaking records. You know, like, the demand for the console is through the roof, and people love it, and people still support it. And I kind of view it as Sony's just taking their time to slowly ramp up to that potential future, but they're not in any rush, because there's no clear sign right now for them that they have to be in a rush. You know, let's just remember that it's Microsoft has Starfield now, and Starfield is going to sell Xbox consoles for sure, but it's mostly going to get Game Pass subscribers. Most people are going to end up subscribing to Game Pass to play Starfield. We could talk about, like, oh, well, what if Microsoft bought Bethesda and then they leveraged Starfield and they said, well, let's just sell Starfield at full price and use it and lock it to the Xbox console and use it to sell Xbox consoles. How many Xbox consoles do you think Starfield would sell? Like, would Starfield be a system seller? The answer to that question is hell yeah, it would. Starfield would sell more Xboxes than we've ever seen sold before. It would be insane. But that's the thing, man, is like, the reason why that doesn't exist is because Microsoft Phil Spencer would have never been allowed to buy Bethesda if it wasn't for Game Pass. The whole reason I'm just mentioning this is because Sony doesn't have that problem. They have yet to run into that problem. And what I'm talking about here is Sony can lock Spider-Man 2 to the PS5. And they know that Spider-Man 2 will be a massive system seller. And they know that people will come to them for Spider-Man 2. And that has just kind of been the cycle that Sony has been rinse and repeating for a long time now. And Nintendo does as well, you know, and you know, you talk about like looking beyond the console. Again, it's Sony is not stupid. They're making moves behind the scenes to prepare themselves for things going wrong and the market suddenly shifting in a major way. But that's not really the focus, at least up front. That's not the priority, because why would it be when it's like, dude, our console's selling better than fine. It's selling amazingly well. People support this model. They buy our games. It's not broke. What is there to fix? So I think Microsoft has to think beyond the console, and they've had to think beyond the console because they needed to survive. But Sony nor Nintendo are at that point. Sony and Nintendo don't have to think beyond the console because they're doing just fine. Doesn't mean things won't change, but definitely interesting to think about. So I appreciate it, Buck. RU46N2 Ray, you're saying Kraven the Hunter movie announced October. The trailer's out. I did see that on Twitter. I didn't actually watch the trailer yet. I don't know how much interest I have in that, you know? Like, I'm interested in Kraven as a villain in Spider-Man 2, but I don't know, a standalone movie for him? Doesn't really, I don't know. I'll have to check. I'll watch the trailer before I judge. But just like gut reaction is like, oh, okay, I guess. Saying you didn't expect to care, but it looks decent. Yeah, I'll have to go check it out. I'll have to go look at it. And we got Exley 3000. I went to go take a sip of my coffee, and Exley 3000 comes in and drops a 10 bomb on us, guys. Look at this. Look at that. Exley 3, thank you so much, Exley. You got to tell me, what soundbite do you want, man? You definitely got to tell me which soundbite you want. Let's get some W's in the chat for Exley dropping a 10 bomb, bringing us up to 23 members on the day, almost hitting our goal. Thank you so much. Yeah, a lucky coffee sip. Really appreciate that, X. You want the CERN? Yeah, let's get the CERN in here. Once again, it's appropriate for today's conversation, isn't it? I really appreciate that, though, man. That's awesome to see. Oops. Oh, no. I opened up another software. Sorry if my stream crashes. I went to go click something and accidentally opened up another software. All right, we're good. Let me add these to the... Yeah, so Exley 3000, just like that. So close to crushing the gold for today, guys. Brings us up to 23. We got Exley, Corey, Zombie Dragon, who else? Gavin, Zagadka, Cuddy Can't Hang, Jay Pierce, Domingo 813, Corey Landiga. All doing work today, man. Really appreciate that, guys. We have an awesome community here. So shout out to you, Exley, dropping the first 10 bomb of the day. And yeah, talking about Kraven, we'll see, man. We'll see. I'm gonna when I go back on Twitter, I'm sure the trailer will pop up again, and I'll have to watch it. Let me see here. Alex Brown, I'm going to read your super chat in just a moment. I just see Exley popped up here saying, what did you think of Jedi Survivor? Did you beat it? Also, Lies of PS6. So the sad truth with Jedi Survivor, Exley 3000, is it's getting put away for now. I did not beat it. I got a couple chapters deep, and I enjoyed my time with it, but ultimately I ended up putting it down simply because it's Final Fantasy time. You know, I can't. I knew this would happen. I knew it would happen, and I had to clear the way for Final Fantasy. So hopefully you understand actually. But what I played of it, I did enjoy, and I'll probably get back to it. So, well, I say probably, but I also fail to realize that there's a ton of other games coming out at the end of the year. So my hope is to get back to it at some point. But you say Lies of P is 6, so actually that's another thing that got in my way. I downloaded the Lies of P demo. It is sick, dude. Like Lies of P, I'm loving it, man. I was already sold on this game based off the trailers I saw, but when I like sat down and played it, I'm like, this is really good. Now, it's not perfect. The one criticism I have for Lies of P is it seems like they got to do something with the dodge mechanic, because it's pretty good, but you could tell like this is where the difference between like playing a game like Bloodborne, like a From Software game like Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, they have just like perfected the dodge mechanics. And I feel like when I'm playing Lies of P, they seemingly have nailed almost everything except that dodge mechanic. It's a little bit, I don't know, man. It's a little bit, it is a little bit clunky, just a little bit. You're saying the game wants you to parry. You're probably right about that. And maybe that's why. Maybe I didn't master the parry mechanic yet, but I agree with you, actually. I thoroughly enjoyed the Lies of P demo, and also the Lies of P demo was a lot longer than I thought it would be. I think I put like 2 hours into it, 2.5 hours, which I mean, for me, that's good for a demo, dude. I really thought it was just going to be like half hour, 45 minutes, something like that. So, yeah. Alex Brown, thank you so much for the $20 super chat, man. That's very kind of you. You're saying Starfield is possible at 60 frames per second. The whole world isn't rendered at the same time. There is constant loading and unloading in Spider-Man. It's the same thing. That vampire game does not have 60 FPS on Series X. Which vampire game are you talking about? Does anybody know what vampire game he's talking about? Because I feel like I should know which title. Oh, yeah. Damn. Just like that. Why did I forget that Redfall was a vampire game? What vampire game are you talking about? What is this vampire game that released on Xbox that you're talking about? I mean, I only made like 10 streams talking about it. What do you mean vampire game? Oh my god, dude. I don't know what. I got some brain fog today, bro. No joke. Man, even that makes me feel a certain way. Like, how did I not know he was talking about Redfall? You know why I think I didn't think of Redfall? Because I feel like I haven't heard anybody refer to it as that vampire game. But yeah, I don't know, man. It is kind of weird, isn't it? Like I'm not trying to throw shade at Microsoft or their studios or their fan base, but it is kind of weird, right? Like you have to admit, 'cause like Alex, you're basically implying that 60 FPS is possible on Starfield on the X, or at least at the very least it should be possible. And you're basically citing Redfall. Well, I mean, if we're being fair here, Starfield looks like a very different game than Redfall, right? Like, we can at least agree that they look like very different games. But it is kind of crazy, isn't it? Because I have to admit, I didn't really take a moment to think about that, but it's like, why do they both lack 60 FPS? Like, both of them, you know? It's just it creates a strange looking picture, is all I'm trying to say. I will be honest with you guys. I know you're saying weak hardware. I mean, look, man, like it's difficult for me to agree with that notion only because like I don't think Forza's going to be at 30. I don't think Hellblade's going to be at 30, you know? Maybe they will. I mean, maybe we're going to find out. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but maybe we are going to find out that, like, yeah, the bottlenecks inside the Series X and the S are actually like a lot worse than we thought, or something along those lines. I don't know, man. Saying Hellblade will be 30, that would be shocking. Now that would be pretty bad, because I mean, based off of what I can see with Hellblade, there's no reason for that game to not have a 60 FPS performance mode. I mean, look, Alex Brown, here's the thing. It's really difficult for me, and I don't necessarily feel comfortable making a claim like that. You know what I mean? Like, it would be easy for me as an armchair YouTuber here, just analyzing and viewing, to just say there's no reason why Starfield shouldn't be 60 frames per second. And I'm not defending it either. You know, I'm not trying to defend it. It's just I'm trying to be fair in that I am not a developer. And I don't know what Bethesda's code looks like. I don't know how to code. I don't know any of these things. You know what I mean? And all I can, the best thing I could say is that I am not as impressed as pretty much everybody seems to be with Starfield. Not that I don't think it looks bad by any means. I'm just saying that I'm just not as impressed. Like, I'm not sitting here being like, my God, I can't wait to play Starfield because it looks mind-blowing. Saying MB Genie's a nap. Yeah, I think I do, man. I don't know why. You know what it is? It's because I ate like an hour before I went live, and I think I had like a sugar crash. You know? And I'm not like, look, I think Starfield does look amazing in a lot of ways. I'm just saying that the way some people are talking about it, like people who are like, I'm totally fine playing this at 30, then that's fine, man. You know, like, I'm not going to say that, I'm not going to throw like a big fit about it and say you should throw a big fit about it, because it's like, who am I to say? You know, who am I to say? I will, here's what I can say though. But guys, the sandwiches, that is, I have to admit, that's pretty funny. That is pretty funny. The amount of times I've seen people actually reference those sandwiches saying they stay there. Those sandwiches stay there. It's like, okay, man, if that's your way of playing this game, man, then more power to you. I'm not going to judge, but I will laugh a little bit. So my final word on this, because there's not a whole lot going on, so it's understandable that this would be brought up again. My final word on it is like, look, I am a PlayStation centric channel, and I've made it pretty clear. Like, I've talked a lot about Xbox, but I've also made it pretty clear that I'm just not there yet. And I don't know if I will be. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be playing on Xbox right now. I have no plans to do so. I have so many games to play. I mean, Final Fantasy, like I said, that's going to take up so much time, and there's so many games coming out at the end of this year. Like, I'm good, man. Sandwich Gate. Oh man, what's happening? Is it beginning? It's happening. What I can say is, when it comes to PlayStation, I don't expect this from PlayStation. I just don't. I do, in the same way that a lot of people asked me, like, how come you thought PlayStation Showcase was that bad? Like, why? Like, how come a lot of, let's say, more casual onlookers can walk away from Sony's Showcase and say, it was okay. It wasn't like the worst. It was pretty decent. Some of it was pretty good. But like, I was seemingly really, really upset by it, because I'm like, that was not, like, that was just straight up bad. Like, that was my take on it. I was like, that was a bad showcase. And the reason for that is simple. It's because I do hold Sony to a higher standard. And, you know, maybe that's unfair. I could see how in some cases maybe that's a little unfair, because Sony's not perfect. You know, no company, no person, no thing is perfect. But I hold them to a higher standard, man. And I don't feel comfortable speaking for the Xbox fan base. I don't feel comfortable speaking for the Bethesda fan base. All I know is that I expect better from Sony in that I don't look forward to their exclusives and assume that, oh man, I'm going to have to expect a 30 FPS only mode. I just don't. And I'm not saying that to throw shade at Xbox and their fan base. I'm not, because if they're cool with it, then they're cool with it. But I'll tell you right now, like if Sony's going to come out and tell me like this game's going to be locked at 30, I need to see something like pretty mind-blowing, because I don't know, man, I'm just going to have a difficult time dealing with that, knowing that Sony has spent this entire generation being like, we can give you 60. Actually, we can do better. We can give you 120. We can give you ray tracing at 1080p with 60. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what Sony has been doing this entire generation, and it has conditioned me to now anticipate that, okay, well, then pretty much all of your games are going to run this way, right? Right? Like, to a degree, anyway. And I think that's fair. And you could argue that maybe this is, Microsoft is kind of, they haven't really been doing it the same way. We have a Sean Mitchell. Shout out to Sean Mitchell becoming a channel member. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that support, bud. Let's get some W's in the chat for Sean Mitchell. That brings us up to 24 members on the day. So, guys, we are just one away from hitting our goal. So, really, thank you guys so much for that. That's incredible to see. Really appreciate it. But yeah, that's what it comes down to for me, man. Like, Starfield, I don't care. 30 FPS for Starfield, I don't care, because it's not my game. It's not what I'm looking forward to. There's no reason for me to speak on that. But what I will say is that if Sony were to come out and say that Spider-Man is locked at 30 frames on the PS5, I would still play the game and I would still be excited for the game, but I would definitely grill Sony for that and let them know that, like, how? Like, how is Spider-Man 2 locked at 30 frames per second? Like, I didn't see anything here that was so mind-blowing that it would justify not having some kind of performance mode. And that's just how I would feel. And so if people look at Starfield and they basically determine that, well, what I did see did blow my mind, and it does justify the 30, then fine. I didn't see it, but if that's what you see, then that's what you see, man. I'm not going to argue that. And whoa, we got a membership train going now. We got Jay Pierce coming in, gifting a membership, bringing us to 25. But on top of that, we have Astro Gamer coming in and gifting 5 memberships. And then, wait, I forget. How do you... Okay, I think I got it. Because I'm looking at your name. I told you I want to read it Ha-A. But I know it's just Ha. So we got Ha coming in. I know. It just, for some reason, that little space there, it gets me every time. But we have Ha also coming in and gifting a membership. Bring us up to 31 on the day, just like that. Thank you guys so much. That came out of nowhere. Really, really, really appreciate that, man. I got to give you guys a couple here. I'll give you a Keanu, an Arnold, and a Jim Ryan for good measure.
We're gonna have the games do our talking.
Really appreciate that support, guys. Yeah, W's in the chat all around. We got a little membership train going. And Astro Gamer, I don't know if this is your first time gifting memberships, man, but thank you for the 5, dude. Love to see it. Say each letter separately. Ha-A-A. Okay. I still said that wrong. Jesus. H-A-A. What? Ha-A. What am I even saying at this point, bro? It's like MBG is going to find every wrong way to say your name. And it's just 3 letters, dude. Like, how wrong could it be? I'll show you how wrong it could be. I could keep going. H-A-A. Okay. That's how you want me to say it? Just to be clear. H-A-A. Please confirm. As wrong as Crackdown 3. Yes. Okay. We have confirmation. H-A-A. See, sometimes we have to go through these cycles here. It's all a learning process. And Astro Gamer says, it's your second time. Okay, cool, man. Saying anytime, always enjoy your streams. I really appreciate it, dude. Yeah, we have a great community here. And I don't say that lightly. We really do. We have a strong community, very supportive. So I appreciate it. Domingo 813 says, "Can you explain the performance in Terminator T models?" Yeah, I mean, like, the PS5 would be like the T. Oh, see, I don't want to say that though, because then, like, the T600, you know, it's like, it's a good model. It's effective, gets the job done, but it's not perfect. The PS5 Pro, no, that's going to be the T800. Pretty sure the T800 is the. Let me make sure I'm not getting this confused. Now you got me searching this. The T800 Terminator. That's Arnold. Okay, yeah, because I was like, I know like the T1000. Yeah, you know what? Screw it. The PS5 is the T800. The PS5 Pro is just an enhanced T800. They both got to be Arnold, man. Yeah, apparently Arnold has retired from playing the Terminator. Can't blame him, you know? But he's like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, Arnold is now, he's like one of the top executives at Netflix now for their action movies. And they've been like advertising stuff like crazy. They gave him like a new show. They gave him saying the disrespect to Robert Patrick. Dude, Terminator 2 is incredible. One of the best movies ever made. Rudy, he's actually 75, man. Arnold is 75 and he's still out here like making moves, man. I just saw, like, he did an interview recently and he was asked if he could run for president, would he? For president of the United States. And he said he absolutely would. And I think he would win, dude. But he can't because he wasn't actually born in America, which is crazy. Because, like, I'm certain if Arnold ran for president, I think he'd have a pretty good chance of winning, man. Could you imagine Arnold as the president? Now that would be something, man. Anyway, let me see. Veneno, you're saying, are you okay to play blurry 1080p 720p 60 on your $2,000 TV? Not really, man. I'll be honest. Like, that's not. I would be pretty frustrated because it's like, you know, I buy an expensive 4K TV to, you know, consume content at 4K. I buy an expensive 4K capable console, you know, to experience these games at 4K or close, or just higher resolutions in general. That's certainly not 720. Like 1080p is, even that's kind of a struggle. Like, we have gotten multiple games this generation that, you know, the performance mode is 1080p 60, and it's just like, it just feels weak. You know, like, really 1080p, like, we can't do better than that. So yeah, I can honestly say that, like, on a you're paying a premium price for a premium TV with a premium price console, or relatively premium price console. Yeah, I'm expecting higher resolutions, man. I won't lie. Don't get me wrong. Like, if I had no choice, you know, there's just some games where it's like, if your only choice is to play this at 1080p, it's like, sure, you know, the game matters more than anything. But it's just the fact that you're paying for this stuff. You know what I mean? You're paying for these upgrades. To expect them to be utilized and fully leveraged, I think is totally fair. I think it's totally fair. Okay, I got a couple more super chats here. Thank you guys. Buck, you're saying Sony needs to hurry to PC. All Xbox games day one on PC. Day one PC and only PC games on PC handheld. That's new. So is PC Game Pass growing with no PlayStation Plus competition? That it is. Yes. That is, you know, that's one of the big question marks, I think, with PlayStation at this moment in time, is what they may or may not be planning to do with PlayStation Plus going forward, because you're right, Game Pass on PC is growing pretty decently, and it has no competition from PlayStation anyway. But that's where it's like, again, Microsoft and Sony, they are in two different spaces right now. Because Microsoft has fully embraced the PC market, it's easy for them to say, well, here's Game Pass for PC. Sony hasn't done that, man. Like, Sony hasn't embraced the PC market in the way that some people think they have. Sony looks at the PC market as a way to make extra money. They don't look at it like, for example, recently, look, Phil Spencer said, let me get this quote for you. All right. He recently said this. Apparently I can't find this quote now. All right. Well, for some reason I can't find it in a Google search, but recently Phil Spencer in an interview, he was asked, like, how do you view like the PC market? And he was basically saying that like the PC market is just as important and is viewed equally as like the console market, and that they deserve their I believe the way he worded it, it's kind of paraphrasing, but he said like the PC market deserves our games on day one. You know, like they deserve that. And this is where it's like, that is not at all how Sony feels. You know, like Sony, and it's not a matter of like what they do or do not deserve. Like, I'm not saying Sony hates PC players and doesn't want to give PC players their games to buy. No, it's just that Sony doesn't share that sentiment, because it's like, but we don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, we don't want to sell our games on PC because we want to sell you on a console. We want you to go out and buy a PlayStation. That's what Sony wants. Microsoft doesn't care about that. MBG, Sony made PC monitors and headsets. Yeah, they did. Wrestling Mark is saying, except they do, though. Well, yeah, but again, this is where you have to apply some nuance. It's not just one-sided thinking. And that's just, and honestly, I know that there's some people who don't like to think that way, but it's true, man. Like, you have to consider all angles here. Yes, Sony does care about putting their games onto PC, but like, just look at the way that they've handled it. Like, do you really believe, truthfully, and I mean, if you do, you do, but I don't see how you could come to this conclusion. Do you really believe that Sony views PC as a priority? And like, that is a market they're prioritizing? Like, how could anybody come to that conclusion? If you say, well, Sony cares about PC because they bought a studio to do PC ports and they're porting more of their games. Yeah, okay, that is true. But my question is, like, how much do they care? What's the signal they're giving you? To me, it's obvious. The signal that Sony is giving is, we just look at it as an extra way, like a supplementary income stream. To me, that's how Sony's treating PC. Now, that likely will change with their live service games. And that's where the big question about PlayStation Plus comes in, right? If I'm not mistaken, free-to-play games on PlayStation do not require PlayStation Plus, correct? So I could see a situation where the only live service games that release day and date on PC are the ones that are free-to-play. But any multiplayer live service game that is going to be sold with a premium price tag, I don't think they will be free to play. I think they will be locked to PS5. Because if you think about it, that's really the only way Sony could do it. Or Sony could do, I think Microsoft still does this, where they could release their games on PC and charge for them, their multiplayer live service games, and ask console players to buy PS Plus, and then tell PC players you don't have to buy PS Plus. That would be nonsense. That would be straight up nonsense if Sony did that, but I don't see them doing it. But I guess I'm just trying to say, Buck, getting back to your super chat. You know, like I said, man, what is Sony going to do with PlayStation Plus? We're going to have our answer. When Sony starts releasing these live service games, hold on, Devil Shooter, you're saying they do that now? Wait, Sony doesn't have any multiplayer games on PC, do they? I don't think so. Because like the whole thing about multiplayer games with PlayStation is it requires PlayStation Plus. Destruction All-Star, I believe it or not, Destruction All-Stars is still locked to PS5. See, that tells me Predator Hunting Grounds. Oh, okay. You know what, actually? You're right. And Returnal? Yeah, true. Ah, good point, guys. I totally missed that. Well, there we go. There's our answer. Not a pretty answer either. Not a good answer. Damn. I don't like that, dude. Well, yeah, that to me that's shady as hell. I don't know why they do that. I now both Microsoft and Sony do that, where they make their console player base actually pay a premium to play games online. But on PC, they don't ask the same. Saying that's why they call it the PC Master Race. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, dude. Us console peasants. Well, I mean, I won't lie. I know that there are some people that are like, yo, I'm going to PC because of that. I mean, not me, man. It sucks, but you know, I won't front. I'm not going to pretend like, well, I'm switching to PC now, Sony. Thanks a lot. Like, no. I do wonder though. Like, I don't know. I do wonder what Sony plans to do with PlayStation Plus beyond the console. Surely they have to have some kind. Oh, sorry, Alex Brown. Yeah, I'm about to. I have to get to Goldcast's super chat and then yours. I apologize for keeping you guys waiting so long. Goldcast, you're saying, yo, just got Starfield pre-ordered with the collectors and the headset. Can't wait. Wouldn't it be cool if Spider-Man 2 had early access? You know, I don't know how I feel about early access for games. Because it feels kind of weird to me, at least in the terms of like, you get 2 or 3 days early access. It's like, okay, I guess, you know? Like, it just feels a little bit like, I don't know, feels a little cheap. But yeah, I wouldn't complain about it because obviously I have Spider-Man 2 pre-ordered as well, and it would be cool to get early access. But that's cool, man. I noticed a lot of people are, yeah, I didn't really talk about that, but Microsoft doing some special edition controllers and headsets for Starfield. People seem pretty hyped for that. So I hope you enjoy it, man. Sounds like you're all set to live in Starfield for a while. So I appreciate that super chat, man. Alex Brown, and thank you for the 20 again, man. You're saying it is being fair. There are loading methods in games that allow you to load in parts of the world as you get closer to them. Every developer uses this method, and it's not new. That's why pop-in happens. No, I get that. Alex Brown. And you know, look, a lot of people were like telling me you should go watch Digital Foundry's like their analysis of Starfield, and I watched like some of it. It was pretty long. I didn't watch the whole thing because, like, honestly, it's like I'm not that interested in it, you know. But the general consensus seems to be that, frankly, but I know that some people don't want to accept this, and I get it. But the reality is Bethesda gets a pass, dude. They do. They get a pass, and even though somebody might say, but the game doesn't even look that impressive to you. Well, it looks impressive enough to enough people that they get a pass, man. And to me, that's a losing battle. You know what I mean? Like, I think some people will fight that losing battle and they will die on that hill. I don't think it's worth it. Like, I get that there are like some people who are like, I need to, like, this just can't be accepted, you know? Like, like some people are going to make the argument, like, it's unacceptable that Starfield runs at 30. It just shouldn't be accepted. Like, it doesn't even look that great. I get it, man. Like, I get it, but it's like, where do you think that's going to go? You know what I mean? Like it's just the general, the people have made up their minds, man, for better or for worse. And the people have said that it's fine. It's perfectly fine. You don't have to agree with that. I'm just saying that, you know, they say you got to pick and choose your battles. Like, if you choose that battle, man, and you keep, you know, barking up that tree, you're not going to go anywhere. Saying, bro, you just complained about 1080p 60. There is no winning for devs here. Well, hold on. I'm not saying that's how I feel about Starfield. I'm just simply saying that, look, if I was given the choice for Spider-Man 2, 1080p 60 frames per second or 4K at 30, I'm going to choose 4K at 30. That's just me. But I would at least be happy knowing that if for some reason I change my mind and it's like, actually, I do want that higher frame rate, it's there. Now, would I be totally satisfied that it's at 1080p? No, I'd be like, that's kind of weak. Like, that's a low resolution. Like, to me, that's a lower resolution, and I thought I was beyond 1080p. But it still feels better than just being told, like, well, you're just locked at 4K 30. Like, there is no other option. You're saying like devs can't win. I don't view it that way. You know, I don't view it as like devs can't win. I just think it's that, you know, I just think that sometimes it's just, that's the separation, man. The separation sometimes lies between, you know, developers know, and they can attempt to explain, but it doesn't matter because, like, when people decide. So if we're talking about Starfield here, think about this for a second. Like, Starfield, when I tell you that the people have come to the conclusion that Starfield, it's justifiably 30 frames. It's okay. It's not because Bethesda explained to them in a technical manner, this is exactly why. Like, we're going to show you our engine and how everything works and like the coding and everything. Like, we're just going to go deep dive into the exact reason why this game can't run at 60 on the console. They didn't do that. They showed the game. And they then confirmed, and it's going to be at 30. And based off of what they showed, most people were like, okay, looks good enough to me. I'm cool with it. And I think if anything, if Starfield proves anything, and I'm not speaking for myself here, keep that in mind. I'm not speaking for myself. I just think that if Starfield proves anything, it proves that if you can sell people on your game and just present it in the best possible way and get people like hyped about what they're seeing, I think there's a lot you can get a pass for. I do. Like, I think that good games at the end of the day, like if people are convinced that the game they're seeing is really, really good and like a must play, I think, I'm not saying those games become bulletproof, but I think that they're shielded by a lot. Like, they could get a pass for not anything, but a lot of things. And, you know, I said that personally, I would be upset with Sony if they announced that Spider-Man 2 was 30 frames per second. But let me ask you, do you think people would make a huge deal about it, or do you think that most people would kind of treat it the exact way Starfield's being treated? Because if I had to guess, if that situation were to occur, I think most people would treat it exactly like Starfield, where it's like, damn, that's a bummer, but I don't care. I'm still going to play it. Looks amazing. And why is that? Because the gameplay they showed looks really good. You know what I mean? Like, people are excited to play this game. It looks fun to play. So it's really easy to get wrapped up in these conversations. And even I'm guilty of this. I won't lie to you guys. I get wrapped up in some of these conversations, and I begin to lose my own sense of like, what do I care about? You know, like what and the truth is, like, 30 FPS has never been make or break for me. It hasn't. I've been conditioned this generation with the PS5 to expect a 60 FPS performance mode, but it's just so funny to think that, like, up until this point, every amazing game experience I've had was at 30 frames. You know what I mean? You're saying, you're speaking for me, MBG. Starfield made me say screw 60. And that's the thing, man. It's like, at the end of the day, I think people kind of realize that, you know what, like, if there's a game I want to play, I'm not really going to, you know, I'm not going to let a frame rate hold me back. I just think that the problem, guys, I'll be honest with you, man. And this is something that I'm learning about life in general, especially as I get older. And it's crazy. It's crazy, especially these days. I've learned that, like, when you're walking through life, it doesn't matter what you're engaged with, you're gonna find out. You're gonna learn, like, almost not everything, but so many things you interact with are gonna make you feel like you have to pick a side, so to speak. Like, you have to choose one or the other, and there can be no compromise. There can be, like, you have to pick, man. And it's just so funny to me because, like, that's not life, man. Like, that is just simply not how things work. You know, and even just talking about things like this, like talking about video games and frame rates, it's the same thing. It's not black and white. It's not. It's just one giant gray area. And you just got to figure out, like, well, how gray is it to you? Because it is so ironic that there are so many PlayStation fanboys on the internet, like on Twitter, that are going ballistic about Starfield being 30 frames per second and making fun of it. And the greatest irony of that is, like, when you played The Last of Us on PS3, what frame rate was that at? You know, like, when you played Horizon Zero Dawn on the PS4, what frame rate was that at? You know what I mean? Like, when you played Bloodborne, what frame rate was that at? And that's not me defending Starfield, because this is what I mean, where it's like, you know, it's like people are going to make it, oh, what are you, an Xbox fanboy now? Like, no, dude, it's just that's the reality, man. Like, you can't be angry at people for just, at the end of the day, deciding that I have no control over whether or not Bethesda's going to let this game to run at 60 on the console. But I've determined that it looks fun enough, and I'm going to have enough of a good time to not care about that. And that's fine, you know, like, but at the same time, there can also be plenty of room. This is what I mean about things not being black and white, is that if you want to then turn to that person who says that and say, but isn't it kind of disappointing that, you know, we're in the next gen of consoles, and, you know, the world's most powerful console, and they're just coming out here being like, and you got to play it at 30. And I feel like that's where it's just like, there is a middle ground, man. And it's a rational, reasonable middle ground. And what that middle ground pretty much says is, hey, this game looks really fun, and I'm going to play it no matter what. But it is also pretty damn disappointing that, you know, at this point in time with these new consoles and the world's most powerful console, that I'm being told I still got to play this game at 30 frames per second. I think both of those things are totally reasonable and rational. And I just think that, you know, a lot of times people, they want to take something that's really not as big as it actually is, and they want to convince themselves as well as others that no, it is this big of a deal. And it's like, but it's not, man. It's just not. You're saying MBG PlayStation gamers are saying things about Starfield in retaliation to what Xbox fans have been doing all generation long to PlayStation exclusives. And I get that. Dude, you want to talk about retaliation, man? Believe me. I am a person who has dealt with some serious, like, trolls, okay? And I've never once felt the need to, like, quote unquote retaliate, because it's just like it doesn't lead to anything. You know? Like, I get that. I understand that mentality. But that, like, to me, that's not justified. You know what I mean? DS, you're saying I trust devs and Digital Foundry than any fanboy in this chat or on Twitter. And that's fair, man. Like, you should. Like it's literally Digital Foundry's job to look into this stuff. And developers, yeah, they would know. And that's DS. See, if anything, you're pointing to something that I think it kind of highlights the point that I'm trying to make, where it's like, it shouldn't come down to that. And people should realize, like, it shouldn't come down to, why don't, you know, they're lying to you and they want to convince, like, they just want you to accept 30 FPS. It's like, hold on, man. Like, does it really have to be all that? Because I really feel like it's not. Like, I feel like if Bethesda could get this game at 60 FPS on the Xbox, they would do it. And DS, I know you're not pointing to me. But is that, like, that's the thing that I don't quite understand is, am I supposed to believe that if Bethesda was actually able to get this game running at like 900 or 1080p 60 FPS, that they wouldn't do it? I have a difficult time believing that. And so that's why when people say, like, oh, but it was a creative choice. No. I'm not saying they're lying about that. I'm just saying I just think that's a really nice way of trying to say, like, we can't do it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's all it is. It's that simple. I think it's just a really nice way of saying we can't do it. And, you know, that's it. That's that. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just, I won't lie. It's been too easy to get wrapped up in this whole conversation about frame rates and whatnot, because it's like, you know, the news cycle's slowed down. There's not a whole lot going on. Well, I mean, Nintendo is going to be having a direct soon, and, you know, there are games coming out, so there's just this kind of little lull period. And I think, you know, we're coming off of all this news. It's understandable. It's, you know, we focus on it a little bit, but at the end of the day, man, it all look, console war nonsense aside, it all comes back down to the same thing. And you guys know this as well as I do. And I think even the most crazy rabid fanboy deep down knows this as well. Just play what you want, man. You know, just enjoy gaming. You know, you can have your moments, but just enjoy gaming. Because if you're not enjoying gaming, you're doing it wrong. I'm sorry, you are. If your gaming life is just nothing but anger and frustration and resentment and just, you know, like, constant complaining, like, that's all it is, then you're not doing it right, man. And you might need to reassess, like, if this is even a hobby for you anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you may want to reassess, like, why are you doing this to yourself? So, all right, let me see here. I'm sorry to keep you guys waiting. Henry 3K, you're saying, what's cooking, bro? Will you consider doing game reviews occasionally on the channel? Also, I'm ready for Final Fantasy 16 greatness. Yeah, a lot of people have been asking me to get back into reviewing games. One of the main reasons why I stopped reviewing games, well, I never really did them consistently, and that's kind of the problem. Is like there are game review channels out there where like they review everything and they're just on top of it all the time, and that's what their channel is dedicated towards. And I've always just kind of felt like, well, what's the point in trying to compete with that? But what I've settled on is like, I don't necessarily know that I will make like dedicated video reviews, but a good example is like I'm going to be playing Final Fantasy 16, and yeah, I'm going to be talking about that game quite a bit. Like on my regular videos, I'll probably have news videos still, but like on the streams, I'll probably have certain segments of the streams like basically dedicated. And now, now this is the section of the stream where we're now going to talk about Final Fantasy 16 and my thoughts on it, and where I am in the game, and so on and so forth. So like in a way, I will still be reviewing games. It's just it's not going to be in the like I guess traditional YouTube way where it's like I'm going to have a 10-minute review video giving my thoughts on an entire like game from start to finish. Maybe I could do that in the future. It's hard to say. Something that I just find that I enjoy a lot more is because I take my time with my games too. That's the thing. I take a long time to complete, especially longer AAA games. I feel more comfortable just kind of like doing those kind of like segmented, like, section by section in a way. I did that with Final Fantasy VII Remake, and a lot of you guys did enjoy it. There were a lot of people who basically tuned in each week to hear my latest update on, okay, like what part did you get to in Final Fantasy VII Remake, and what are your thoughts on it? And we just talk about it, and it was a good time. And I feel like I can kind of handle games that way. The thing that makes that kind of tough though is I don't get like review copies and whatnot. I play games at the same time that everybody else does. Like when I think about a game like Spider-Man 2, I got to think about how I'm going to handle this, because like I want to obviously talk about it as soon as I can, but I know people with spoilers and whatnot, so I'm sure I could work something out. Like I'll probably, what I'll do? I think I did this one time before, and I'll do it again. Anytime on my streams where I'm talking about a brand new game that just came out, I will put a big sign up on the screen here that says in red spoiler. Spoil, so like we're talking about spoilers basically. So Dry the Gamer, you're saying if Sony gives us 30 FPS, your eyes will be destroyed. Maybe. My eyes can adjust to 30 FPS very well, but I have to go into it at 30 FPS. If I go into something seeing 60 and then it drops to 30, yeah, it does destroy my eyes. I like, for that time being, I can't unsee it. But if I go into something with it being at 30, so like here's a great example recently. Speaking of Lies of P, when I played Lies of P, I started playing it in the performance mode, but something weird happened when I was about like 45 minutes into it, and I got to the second section of the demo, and for some reason it just like glitched out completely, and it like there was all this massive flickering on screen. I thought it was actually going to like break my PS5. I was like, what the hell's going on? So I switched it to fidelity mode. I quit the game and I switched it to fidelity mode because I wanted to see if it was still going to do that weird screen flickering, and it was completely gone. And like I was just like, okay, I'm just going to play it in the fidelity mode, and I'm just going to get myself readjusted to 30 FPS. And it's funny because like I ended up playing the majority of that demo at 30 frames. And it's like, yeah, I definitely would prefer the 60. Especially after playing the first section of it at 60. But it was fine, dude. Like, once I was engaged with the game and I'm just in the flow and in the zone, like, I don't notice. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't. So it's like, it's definitely something I can do. But Yeah, I also do greatly prefer 60 when I can get it, certainly. And frankly, I would be lying if I said I don't expect 60 most of the time. MBG, do a first impressions when you start a game, when you finish the game, and then review it. Yeah, I think I'm going to try to do that again, because that's kind of how I used to do it. Like, I would basically make an impressions video, or like an initial thoughts, and then like weeks later, or even a month later, or sometimes longer, I'd do like a final review. Maybe I could start doing that again. And Dry the Gamer, again, you're saying, I think this generation, the exclusives graphical gap will be bigger than it was in the 360/PS3 era. Cracking compression and the SSD seem like game changers. It might be, this is why, like, when the last topic we were talking about, a PS5 Pro, like, that's what I mean, dude, because we've already seen how the PS5 and the Xbox Series X are basically, they're matching each other. And in a lot of cases, I mean, look, man, the way it's been, the PS5 has been winning more rounds than it should. It's been like punching above its weight. And it's just like, look, if Sony brings out a PS5 Pro, that I do not expect an Xbox Series X console and their exclusives to be able to hold its own against the PS5 Pro. And I think Sony wants that. That, like, not to just like basically do a hard left turn right back to that topic, but I do think that they would want that. The Zombie Fanatic, you're saying, MBG, what do you think of Project Q? I don't think it's cool. I personally wanted to see Sony create a dedicated PS Vita handheld. This ain't it. I see Dreamcast guy hacking it to death. Yeah, I think that's how most people feel, man. Like, what do I think of Project Q? I think, like, to me, it's just one of those items where it's like, it would be cool to have, to collect, to be like, oh, I got this unique PlayStation 5 peripheral that Sony randomly created, and I feel like years from now, it'll be like something that, is just either sitting on my shelf or I put it away somewhere and like I forget about it and I discover, I'm like, oh man, I forgot Sony made this thing. It's the most useless thing ever, But yeah, a lot of people want a dedicated handheld, man. I don't think it's happening, though. Goldcast, you're saying, MBG, who is winning Game of the Year? What are some nominations? Well, a lot of people think that Zelda's winning Game of the Year. So, I think that's a safe bet. Starfield seems like it's going to be a Game of the Year contender. Some people think it'll win. I think Spider-Man 2 will likely be a Game of the Year contender. Final Fantasy 16 is looking like it's going to be a Game of the Year contender, man. So there's going to be some stiff competition at the Game Awards this year. And I'm sure there's going to be others that I didn't mention, but just off the top of my head, those are the games that really just immediately stand out. And we'll see. The Game Awards this year are going to be fun, because I think this is going to be the first year, potentially ever, where we see Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo all nominated for Game of the Year. I think Hogwarts Legacy. I don't know if Hogwarts Legacy will be nominated for Game of the Year. Colby Watson, you're saying, hey, MEG, as someone who was in the same boat as you when it comes to Final Fantasy games before you played 7, I'm debating 16. What would you say to someone debating buying Final Fantasy 16 but is intimidated by it? That's a great question, man. Well, Colby, a big question I have, did you play the demo? I'm assuming you do know about the demo, but when I read your super chat, it makes me think you might not be aware, possibly, that there is a free demo available on PlayStation 5 for Final Fantasy 16. So Colby, if you're intimidated by it and you're not sure if it's going to be for you, I would highly, highly, highly recommend. I mean, you have to try the demo, man, because that will answer your question. You say, I see somebody asking, why would you be intimidated? I get that, man. I just think it's because Final Fantasy is such a long-running series, and like, I think there's still a lot of people who don't realize that with every time you play a new Final Fantasy game, it's just a brand new story. I never knew that. Like, people had to tell me that. Like, when I went to go play Final Fantasy VII Remake, I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know anything about the previous 6. And they're like, dude, it's standalone, man. Like, it doesn't matter. I never knew that. And I think that there are like probably people who, still feel that way, and that adds to the intimidation factor. But I will say, I don't think you have to feel intimidated by Final Fantasy 16, because at least after I played the demo, I realized like they are actually making this game way more welcoming than I think maybe some people realize. Like, it's not. I know people don't like to hear the term accessible or accessibility. I think people get a little too overly worked up when we use that terminology. But the reality is Final Fantasy 16 is very accessible. When I was playing it, like, they have different ways for you to experience the game. Like, they have a story-driven mode where it just focuses on that. And it basically makes the gameplay, I think, significantly easier. They have an action-focused mode where there is going to be a challenge. And then they have, like, difficulty settings that come in the form of rings you can wear. It's really unique the way that they handled it, but what it really conveyed to me is like they constructed this game to try to be as welcoming to anybody who is thinking about, hey, I might want to try Final Fantasy 16. And so Colby, what I can say to you is if you played Final Fantasy 7 Remake like I did, and now you're trying to figure out if you're going to be as into Final Fantasy 16, I will say, and I'd have to go back and first off, I have to play more Final Fantasy 16, but based off of what I have played so far, I don't know, man. Is the combat better than 7? What do you guys think? I'm really curious. So for those who played both Final Fantasy 7 Remake and the Final Fantasy 16 demo, what do you think? Do you think the combat feels better in 7 Remake or in 16? Because I have my answer. I'm just curious to see what you guys say. Saying it is better in 16, smoother in 16. They're different. They are different. They're both hood in their own way. So I feel like, I don't know, man. For me, I feel like Final Fantasy VII Remake kind of felt better. But the reason for that, though, might simply be because I've had such limited time playing. Like, there's not a ton of combat in the demo. Like, there's a fair... there's a pretty decent amount. But I don't know, man. I'd have to put more time into it. But the combat in Final Fantasy 16, that like the thing that really struck me about it is it truly is just fully... I know that they said this, and we've seen it in the actual gameplay demos and whatnot, but it really doesn't kind of hit you until it's like, oh, wow, okay. It really is just full-blown action, man. Like, it's just there's no breathing room. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like you have to be like engaged in the entire battle. And the thing that was kind of surprising to me about this game being fully action-based is how long some of the battles can be. I'm not comparing it. I am going to compare it to Dark Souls and Elden Ring in this sense. One of the things that I've always struggled with when it comes to the Souls games, the Soulsborne games, is in boss battles, realizing that it does take skill, certainly, but it takes patience. Like, that's one of the key things where the amount of times I've died in boss battles in the Soulsborne games because I'm trying to get the health down as quickly as I can and just win the battle. And that's literally why I fail, because it's like, dude, you have to pace yourself. This is that, but even more so, where I notice with a lot of these boss battles, again, my only experience with Final Fantasy being 7 Remake, it's like in 7 Remake, I got very adjusted to being able to kind of like pause the combat basically and strategize. And this game is just very, yeah, it is super action oriented, and it's not that I necessarily had to get readjusted to that, but it's been a while since I've actually played an action RPG like this, right? And I feel like the last like action RPG I really played this, that where it really demanded a lot from me was Elden Ring, and I'm getting that feeling again with this game. So basically, Colby, just to answer your question, man, I would say try not to be too intimidated by it because it's very welcoming, but it's fun, man. And the biggest thing I walked away with from that Final Fantasy 16 demo is just the thing that they hoped people would walk away with, and that was, my God, I want to play more of this. Like, that was really fun, and I want to keep going. And that's what I walked away from the Final Fantasy 16 demo with. So definitely play the demo, man, and you'll know for sure whether it's for you or not. But the one last thing I want to add to that is I'm very curious to see like how much more in-depth the combat becomes, because I was noticing in the game, like, there's a lot of skill trees, there's a lot of stuff to unlock and a lot of different abilities and whatnot. And I could tell that the combat that I experienced in the demo is just so bland and basic and just teaching you the ropes. I'm eager to kind of see like what else you can do. So definitely looking forward to that. Unintended Studios, you're saying trailers for Final Fantasy 16 did nothing for me, but was going to buy it because it's Final Fantasy. But that demo gave me all the hype. It may play like baby's first DMC, but I hope it really leans in on that. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned it. You compare it to like baby's first DMC. That's why I'm saying I'm really interested to see how far these combat trees go and how big of a difference they make in the overall combat, because it's not the most intricate or intense action-based combat I've experienced, but it's enough to where you definitely have to be engaged at all times. You have to be on your toes, and it does require skill. I didn't play it on story mode, and I didn't use any of the rings. It requires some skill. You have to be on point. And if you're, if you're just half-assing it or you're not fully engaged, you likely will get messed up and potentially die. But it's not like over the top, And I'm curious to see if it can become that as you go further in the game. But yeah, apparently the Unintended Studios, speaking of the combat, I covered this in my video yesterday, but the gameplay designer for Final Fantasy 16 says that this is his personal masterpiece. And, that's kind of crazy considering his pedigree and the games that he's worked on. So I'm like, damn, he must have cooked up something pretty special for this game. You could kind of tell. Like I said, man, when I was playing the Final Fantasy 16 demo, not to sound like a broken record, I don't want to. You're saying it gets deep. You can blend 3 different icons abilities into a combo. Yeah, see, that sounds insane. I saw somebody in my comment section yesterday, and this was kind of weird to me, but I didn't really know how to respond to it because I'm like, well, I don't know if this person's like a longtime Final Fantasy fan, and they just, I don't know, like it's a valid opinion, valid subjective opinion. He put this comment, and it got like 20 upvotes or something. Like that's what surprised me is more people upvoted it than I expected. Where he was like, the world of Final Fantasy 16 looks so bleak and glum. Gloom? Is it glum or gloom? How do you say that? It's glum, right? Am I saying that right? See, now I'm going to get hung up on if I'm saying this word right. Chat, please confirm to me if I'm saying this word right. Yeah, GLUM. Glum, right? It just, yeah, it glum is correct. Okay. Well, I guess, yeah. Gloom, yeah. It's just because dude, I don't say the word glum. It sounds kind of weird. I'm not going to lie. In fact, I think it's a little bit suspicious that this person even used that word to describe Final Fantasy 16. Like, who uses the word glum? Who uses that? Gloom isn't a word. I bet you gloom is a word. Let me see. It is a word. The definition is partial or total darkness. Yeah, like, gloomy. Another definition, a state of depression. Have a dark or somber appearance. Well, there you go. We're learning stuff today, guys. Yeah, I was going to say, gloom sounds like a word. Like, I'm pretty sure I've used that word before. Glum is the one. Now you guys are going gloopy. Like, what's happening right now, man? Oh man, but the point okay, so I got way off track here. The point I'm trying to make is that the person described the world of Final Fantasy 16 looking like really bleak, and how that's why they're going to pass on it. And I thought that was so strange, because I'm like, dude, what? Like, I just thought that of all the reasons somebody could choose to pass on Final Fantasy 16, like, that to me is like one of the strangest, So Zagadka says gloop is real too. I bet. You know what? No, I'm not searching the definition of that. Now you guys are just trying to get me way off track here. So thank you for the super chat on Nintendo Studios. Zombie Dragon, you're saying, let's be honest, Nintendo has been doing the exact same thing for years. Look at Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Its frame rate isn't that good. Well, isn't that the big argument? Isn't that the big argument, though? A lot of people have been complaining that the video game industry, it just feels like a lot of rinse and repeat. It feels like there's not enough innovation. It feels like things are just refined to the nth degree, and that's all it is. And it's like, dude, that's how it is, man. I saw people like comparing screenshots of Zelda Breath of the Wild to Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and how they, somebody was like, only Nintendo could get away with this. And then somebody replied to it by showing a screenshot of God of War 2018 in the same area for God of War Ragnarok. And it's like, sometimes that's just how it's got to be, man. And I don't, look, we have to be critical at times. We do. We have to be critical. We have to point out flaws when it's necessary. But I'm telling you, man, in the gaming industry, and I am guilty of this. I'm not trying to speak on it as if I'm some kind of holier than thou. I'm not, but I'm learning and I'm improving. But what I've learned is that, dude, there's just so, like, people love to dwell in negative spaces when they just don't have to. And that, like, again, I feel like there is actually a difference between being fairly critical towards something and just basically choosing, I just want to be negative. I'm just going to be miserable. Like, nothing's ever going to be good enough. And it gets annoying at times where it's like, Jesus, man. Like, did people forget how to enjoy things? And it's not always like that. And I don't sound any better right now. Like, I'm basically complaining about the complainers. But, when you talk about Nintendo, man, you're saying, look, they've been doing the exact same thing for years. But that's the reality of these situations where it's like, it's not just up to an individual like me or an individual like you alone to determine whether that's okay or not. It's up to the market. And the market has continued to tell and send the message to Nintendo that keep it up. Like, you're doing good. We will continue to support this. And it tells you that people like this. It's like a good example of this is like Call of Duty for me. I used to be in the Call of Duty, and I just kind of got to a point with it where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like, maybe I'll play Treyarch's next Call of Duty if that looks good. But generally speaking, I like dipped out, man. Like, I just can't do it. And I noticed that there's like this whole segment of like Call of Duty players. And I'm sorry if I offend anybody out there, but it's true. There's like a whole segment of like Call of Duty players where it's like their whole thing is we just complain about Call of Duty. Like, that's how we engage with Call of Duty now. And I'm like, but that doesn't sound very fun. You know, like, where's the enjoyment in that? And that's where I just kind of realized, like, yeah, I'm just not enjoying this series anymore. And I got my fill with it, and I'm just going to move on and find something else, you know? And I just think that that's kind of like what continually happens, where I think a lot of people, they latch on to certain things, and they, you know, things change over time, man. They do. They change over time. And I think that people who are latched onto it, and they start to realize that things have changed, and a lot of people like that change, but you're part of the group of people that don't like it, but there's nothing you can do about it. Like, this is the way forward. I think a lot of people kind of hold on to it, and they're like, well, maybe if I just sit here and complain long enough and get, you know what I mean? It's weird to me. Like, if you're really feeling that bad about it, just move on. That's all. I think that's the best thing to do, because there's a lot out there to play, man. And in the case of what you said, Zombie Dragon, I think it's fair to say that. Like, I think it's fair to say, let's be honest, Nintendo's been doing the exact same thing for years. Yeah, they have been. Nintendo, in a lot of ways, they have innovated in certain areas, but there's also been a ton of rinse and repeat. But, when haven't we seen that? You know what I mean? Like, in any industry where something is successful, like when hasn't something just been rinse and repeat? It's the natural course of things. And the day may come where, if Nintendo keeps rinsing the way they are and repeating, the day may come where the market changes, and the market says, you know what, we're kind of tired of this now. Like, we're really actually ready for something totally different and new. And if you think about it, that's exactly what Nintendo had to do in the hardware space. You know, like, if you think about the Wii U, the big problem with the Wii U is it was rinse and repeat. It was, the Wii was so successful, let's just like try to do it again, right? Like, and they came up with the whole gimmick of the Wii U pad and whatnot, and it was the worst console ever for them. It was like, holy shit, you guys just like killed your console business. And what did they have to do? The market spoke, and the market said, we loved the Wii. Whatever you just tried to do with the Wii U, we hated that. So you got to do something completely new and different. And that's what Nintendo did. And that's why I'm very interested to see what Nintendo does with their next console, because it's like, people loved, like, I don't think it's going to happen this way, but Nintendo is liable to make the mistake where it's like, we saw what happened with the Wii. We saw how successful it was, and you can't blame Nintendo for being like, we got to recreate this success. We see them again in that position with the Nintendo Switch. They have a huge winner with the Nintendo Switch. There's going to be a lot of pressure for them to, okay, what's the next generation of Nintendo Switch look like? Because we saw what the next generation of Wii looked like, and that was a colossal failure. So I'm thinking the Switch is going to fare very differently, but it's just so funny to me how, like, that's just how these things work, man. Like, it really is as simple as, if it works, good, keep it going until it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, well, we might have to do something completely different. And that is not up to Nintendo. That's actually up to the market. So it's like a lot of times people who complain about PlayStation, right? Like, people always complain about Sony's, it's just sequel. It's like, well, dude, people are buying them. You know, like, people are, it's not just a few people, like millions and millions and millions of people are buying them. And, you know, it's just, what do you want Sony to do? Say, please stop buying our games, or we should stop making these games? Why? Well, I don't know. I mean, aren't people tired of them? Like, no, dude, they're buying them like crazy. You know? So it's funny, because you think about God of War Ragnarok and how they were thinking about, should we make this a trilogy, or just, you know, should we end it with Ragnarok? And man, I don't know. I bet you a part of Sony is like, God, we should have made a trilogy, because, like, look at how well Ragnarok sold, dude. It's like crazy. It's like the best selling first party PlayStation game of all time. I bet you they're like, we should have made that trilogy. We should have done it. But yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The market determines when something's done. and over. Christopher, you're saying, hey, MBG, what are the new leaks? I just joined. Well, I'm not going to go over them in depth. You'll have to come back and watch the stream after. But the first leak was a new PS5 bundle that features 24 months of PlayStation Plus Premium that Sony is apparently going to announce soon. And the second leak is Bungie's upcoming game Marathon. A bunch of gameplay details leaked out about that. So hopefully you can come back to the stream when it's finished and catch up on that. I did talk about those at the very beginning, by the way. Let me see. We got Jay Pierce saying, this is why I can't get mad about the FPS topic. They are talking so much shit on Final Fantasy 16, but it will run at 60 because they are doing a day one patch now. Long story short, practice what you preach. Oh my god, dude. What is going on? My brain is like, I have so much brain fog today. Why? Practice what you preach. Starfield is 30 FPS. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Jay. I get what you're saying. It is weird. Like, I don't think there's a lot of people doing this, but it is kind of weird to see people being so harsh to Final Fantasy 16's performance mode, while simultaneously like just totally giving Starfield a pass. It's like, look, I know Final Fantasy 16 and Starfield are very different games, but it's like, come on, man. You know, like, I know Final Fantasy 16 isn't this massive, like, open world space RPG, but it's still a massive game that has a lot of things going on, you know, and graphically, Final Fantasy 16 looks way better than Starfield. So it's like, come on, you know, like, just, I'm not saying that means we should praise them. And this is where, again, people, they lose the nuance, man. They lose the nuance. I'm not saying anybody should be praising Square and Sony and saying, you know what, I'm just glad you could even get a performance mode, even if it's running at 45 frames per second. Like, we don't have to be apologists about it, but we don't have to make it sound like, oh my God, how absolutely pathetic and sad. Like, you guys suck. It's just, again, it's somewhere right in the middle. That's where the truth is. And in my opinion, the right answer is, I'm glad you have a performance mode, and I really hope you guys can get it to where it needs to be. But it is also kind of disappointing that the performance mode, it's not running as well as it should. There you go. Like, that is what it is. And I think that there's not much else to say about it. And so, yeah, the good news is they're going to fix it. At least they said they're going to. And I actually did see somebody saying, like, well, if they had all this time to optimize the game, then why does it seem like the performance mode's coming in hot? Somebody speculated, and I think it's good speculation because it makes sense and it adds up. They were saying that maybe this game was originally supposed to be 30 frames, but maybe like Sony at the last second was like, guys, we really need you to get a 60 FPS performance mode. Like, we really need you to do that. And then they were kind of like, oh, okay, well, let's get working on that. And that was kind of like something that, I don't want to say it was tacked on, but it was something that came much later in development, to where, if you think about it, like, apparently every other aspect of this game is just totally locked in. But now all of a sudden, the only thing that's, you know, that they're getting caught on is like, oh, but it could just be that they ran out of time too. So we'll see. At this point, I'm more afraid of Final Fantasy 16 shutting down my PS5 from overheating. Like, I'm actually kind of nervous that that's a thing that's going to happen, because I'm really interested to see if that's like a common problem. Because I have to tell you, man, like, I was quite surprised. I think I saw 2 or 3 people reviewing the game, and they put the screen out, and I'm like, what? It's like it's just one specific part of the game. I bet you that's like one part of the game. Like, there's just one specific part of the game where it's like, we kind of missed this part, and it's overheating PS5s, and they have to patch it. We'll see, man. We'll see. So I appreciate the super chat, Jay. Rashtam V2, you're saying calling it Nintendo putting on the best show tomorrow. Yeah, this is I'm not into Nintendo like that, man. Like, I'm not even interested in. I don't watch Nintendo Directs. I don't know, man. Nintendo, they're just. I have no problem with them. I have no problem with Nintendo. I'm not interested at all. Like, I'm more interested in Xbox than I am Nintendo at this point. I don't know why. But I know people are super pumped for the Nintendo Direct tomorrow, and I think there's some high expectations. I think there's some pretty high expectations. I think Nintendo said that their Direct tomorrow is going to focus on the games that they have coming for the rest of the year. And I think people were saying that they don't really have much else lined up for the year. You're saying it's just Pikmin? Yeah, that's what I was hearing. So we'll see, man. I'll be totally real with you, man. Like, when I see the announcements that come out from Nintendo Directs and I see like people getting hype, I feel like totally out of the loop, man. Because I'm like, and again, this is no shade towards Nintendo. It's one of those weird moments where I feel like I'm so connected to gaming, but then like when it comes to Nintendo, I genuinely am like, I'm just like looking around like, I don't get it. Like I really, really don't get it. And I don't know why. Maybe it's just me though. Well, I know it's not just me. Like, I know that there are people who agree with me, but saying, because you're not a Nintendo fan. Yeah, I guess it's that simple. I mean, I watched the Mario movie and that was enjoyable, man. That was enjoyable. So I don't know. I guess like Nintendo still keeps me. They're fine. Nintendo's finding some way to keep me involved. Like, even as somebody who's not a Nintendo fan, I'm still looking forward to their new hardware reveal whenever that happens. You're saying they make the best games. What's not to get? Yeah, apparently so. Biggity08, you're saying, why do people say that Xbox lied about their marketing when they said 60 FPS or most powerful console? That was before they bought Bethesda, right? Well, you know what it is, Biggity08? You have two companies. Like, this is where we talk about like the fanboy console war stuff. You have two companies, Sony and Microsoft, PlayStation and Xbox, and their job is to market products to convince customers to buy them. And when people say like, oh, they lied, it's like, okay, I get that, but, or maybe we just fell for the marketing, which I don't want to say like because if you think about it, like Microsoft's marketing isn't a lie, right? Like when they say the world's most powerful console, like it's not a lie. On paper, it is the world's most powerful console. It just turns out that it doesn't really matter. And see, that is how that's when I say when you fall for the marketing, you got to be, I've learned this the hard way. You got to be very careful about the buzzwords and the terminology and all that stuff, because it's like the trick about marketing, from what I understand, is it's exactly that. Their job is to try to convince you that things that don't matter actually do matter. And that's fine. Like, that's their job, to market it and to get people to care. But it's when people like propagate that and it's like, yes, like this matters like more than anything. It's like, but does it though? Saying MBG like Sony did with the SSD to a degree. Yeah, like it's a little bit different with Sony and the SSD only because, well, it depends on how you look at it. Because think of it like this. It depends on why you were hyped for the SSD marketing. So I feel like the reason why I fell for Sony's SSD marketing a little bit was because, and I'm not saying it's wrong, because again, I feel like technically speaking, just like with the Xbox's power factor, it's true. Like when Mark Cerny, and it's not just him, but like just generally was like this air around the PS5 where it's like, this is going to change game development forever. And I like really bought into that. Like, I was like, dude, this is gonna completely change game development. Like, Sony just fucking blew the door off the hinges. You know what I mean? But it like didn't. You know what I mean? It's like it improved a lot of things. And I realized that what I should have probably been focused on is, but look at how there's no load times. You know, look at how convenient things are now. Look at how much faster things are. And these are things that are like more tangible benefits, is like higher resolutions, higher frame rates. And generally speaking, a lot of the things that Sony did market, I think, were actually true. Right? Like Sony wanted to convince me that the DualSense and the haptic feedback and the triggers mattered. And that, you know, it's like, okay, well, maybe it does. And then I tried it and it's like, actually that yeah, I don't feel like I fell for anything, because the DualSense, and when it has haptic feedback, when it has the triggers and it's being taken advantage of, it does matter, at least to me. I'm like, that makes a substantial difference, like a noticeable difference. It's not the be all end all. It's not like, well, if I can't play it with DualSense features, then I'm not playing it at all. No, it's not like that, but it's exactly what they said it was. When it comes to the higher frame rates and the performance modes, it's exactly what they said it was. When it comes to the instant load times, it's exactly what they said it was. I just think the one thing that I, as well as other people, got hung up on, it really was like, because again, Mark Cerny, obviously he wasn't wrong and he wasn't lying. It's just, I think he was the problem and the disconnect. And I think this is why Sony kind of regretted having Mark Cerny do his deep dive with the PS5. It's because what he was describing is, even though it's possible on the PS5, it doesn't mean it's going to happen anytime remotely soon. And we are likely still many years away from that happening. And, you know, it's one of these things where at the time, I, as well as many other people, I'm running with that. And I'm like, oh, dude, it's going to happen. Like, we're right there. You're saying Sony does not regret letting him speak, LOL. I'm not saying they regret letting him speak. I just mean that when you think about it, that was the first time we ever heard about the PS5. I think I remember the conversation after Mark Cerny had that PS5, the road to PS5. It was not nearly as positive as it should have been. Like, people walked away. A lot of people did not understand anything Mark Cerny was saying. And I think that's what I mean when I say I think Sony maybe was like, oh, like maybe we shouldn't have done that, because people don't quite understand, you know, like people just want to see the games, you know what I mean? And I have an appreciation. Like I said, we'll know if Sony is doing a PS5 Pro, whether or not they roll out Mark Cerny and have him do a deep dive again. They might, and I hope they do. That'd be cool. But that's the thing. And when it comes to the marketing beats, if there's the one thing I've learned truly is you have to be careful not to buy into it too much. You know, like, you have to always check yourself. And at least for me now, that's what I do. Like, when I think about future PS5 games now, I'm not sitting here thinking like Sony's going to do the most mind-blowing, unbelievable, never been seen, never been done before. That's what one of their studios is working on. Like, dude, I don't know. All I'm expecting is some good-looking games that look fun to play. That's it. You know, and I'm expecting them to just run well and look good on the PS5. You know, I think that what these modern day marketing machines, what they try to do is they thrive on hyperbole. And it's not just marketing, it's internet culture. Internet culture thrives on hyperbole and exaggerations. People, when we talk about what does the market want, the market wants that. People want that. What are my cats doing, bro? Come on, man. You're being rude. You're being rude to Leia. Boss is like, I'm going to show you how I market. But yeah, exactly. Everything needs to be bite size. Everything has to have a buzzword. And it's tough, man. Like, there's no escaping it. There really isn't. It's just, you're saying it's pronounced hyperbole. I'm pretty sure I'm saying it correct. Hyperbole? Hyperbolic? The point is, though, everything has to be exaggerated. Everything has to be like special. Like, nothing can ever just be simple and what it is. And it doesn't have to be the biggest and best thing in the world. It can just be something good. And you're saying it was a joke, bro? Oh, okay. So, well, you guys see, I question myself anymore. And you know, that's just, I think, a byproduct of, again, just it's our modern age, man. It's the age of the internet. It's the age of everything has to be bigger, better, more. And I do feel that something that's been incredibly beneficial to me in my own personal life, but it ripples out to every area of my life. And I would recommend this to everybody here, is it is incredibly good for you to just stop at certain times in life and just realize that, like, dude, things don't have to always be, there doesn't always have to be more. You know, they say this, the saying less is more, I think sometimes is so unbelievably true. It is like, it is unbelievable. Like, less is more. Like, yes, actually, in a lot of ways, less can be more, man. And it's kind of ironic because when you think about what we talk about here, like with PlayStation, I know some people would probably wholeheartedly disagree with what I'm about to say, but I feel like if Sony's games didn't necessarily get that much bigger and they kind of just stayed in the area where they are right now, I would be fine with that. You know? Like, of course, I want developers to do what they want to do. Like, if Sony's developers like want to make their games bigger and better in any way they can, then of course I'm in support of that. But it's like, if the idea is, you know, we're putting out like these AAA games that take like 30 plus hours to beat in some cases, and they're just single player. It's like, yo, that's good, man. Like, even when I play, I think about, you know what, two games I think about? I think about God of War Ragnarok, and I think about The Last of Us Part 2. And if I'm being brutally honest about both of these games, I know, Jay Shako. I know I am just flowing. I just have a stream of consciousness and I am all over the place. I understand that. So I appreciate you guys hanging in here with me. I'm bouncing from one thing to the next. But when I think about The Last of Us Part 2 and God of War Ragnarok, the two biggest criticisms I have for those games are they felt like they had, I don't want to say overstayed their welcome, but there were definitely times where I'm like, I feel like this is going on a bit too long, you know? And not severely, not like, oh my God, this should have been over 10 hours ago. Nothing like that. But just certain moments where I'm like, I know, like, I could just kind of get this feeling that I feel like some of the stuff could have been cut. And they chose not to because they're like, well, but it can add more to it. And it can, you know, it can make this game become a 25-hour game, a 30-hour game. And I get that. And that's kind of the struggle with modern day PlayStation exclusives and just big AAA games in general. For $70, the developers inherently, you know, this is why that conversation is like, it's always prominent and prevalent. How much time do you spend playing a game versus how much did you pay for that game? And how do you rate that? How do you quantify that? And that's why I've always tried my best to not equate hours played to, you know, money spent. because I just feel like that's not a good way to judge, to judge a game. I am wholeheartedly of the mindset that God of War Ragnarok, I think, how many hours did it take me to beat God of War? I think it took me 40 hours to beat God of War, dude. 40 hours. Hold on. Am I? Yeah, I think that's how long it took me. No joke. I think it took me like almost double that, or maybe like close to 60 or 70 hours to get the platinum. But I can honestly say that game could have been probably a good 5 to 8 hours shorter. And it would have been the exact, like, I definitely would have still felt like that was well worth $70. Hell, it could have been like 10 hours shorter. Maybe, to be fair though, I did do some of the side content before. Like, I didn't just mainline the story. So let me put it this way. If for me to beat God of War Ragnarok would take like about 30 hours, give or take, like just to beat the mainline story, like I would totally be fine if it was like, again, 8 to 10 hours shorter, or even 5 hours shorter, 6 hours shorter. This is relevant to me because it's like, I don't know, man. I just feel like sometimes developers, they feel it like this kind of pressure, I feel like they feel this kind of pressure where it's like, well, we make the biggest AAA games, and because of that, it's also a single player cinematic game. We got to make sure it's at least like 25 hours. Like, I don't think so, man. Like, if Sucker Punch released Ghost of Tsushima 2 and they were like, the main story is 20 hours to complete, and then all of the side content is another 20 to 25 hours, I think that would be perfect. There would be people who'd be like, 20's too short. Like, come on, man. What do you mean? Like, we waited years for this game. Only 20 hours? Like, dude, but what if those 20 hours are like some of the best you've ever experienced in a game? It's so funny to me because it's like The Last of Us Part 1 is, I think, the prime example of this. The Last of Us Part 1 is a short game, man. The Last of Us is a short game. You can complete it in like 10 to 12 hours, and it's perfect. It's perfect. It doesn't need to be any longer. There was no need for it to be longer. And that was a game, like The Last of Us 1 to me is truly a game where it's like it knew there was no fat, man. The fat was trimmed, and it was just, quality bound gamer. Yeah, and I get it, man. It's like, there is also something to be said for games that can offer you a lot. Like right now, a lot of people who are about to pay $70 for Final Fantasy 16, like, imagine if they told you, like, this game is 15 hours long. People would be in an uproar. They would, man. Like, they would be like, what? 15 hours? Like, this is a JRPG, like, it's $70. What do you mean? But it's like, people don't, I think, stop to think about, but like, you shouldn't be asking yourself, why isn't the game longer? You should be asking yourself, well, what's the quality level of those 15 hours? It's a good example of this is like watching a movie, right? Like, oh, this movie's 3.5 hours long, and it's like the director's cut or whatever, versus, or I don't know, I guess some people do prefer the director's cut, but I guess I'm just saying, like, there's been plenty of examples of movies where it's like, dude, you could have cut it, like, you could trim stuff out of this movie and it like makes the movie better. Like, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's all about the pacing, man. That's what it is. I think one of the most important things in any genre, not just genre, but any medium, it really is pacing. Because if you think about it, pacing is it's the thing that's interacting directly with somebody, with the most important thing that everyone has, and that is time, man. Like, time is the most important thing, and it's limited for everybody. And there's no worse feeling than feeling like your time was either wasted or just kind of like not respected. And that's why I think people really need to try to reevaluate this conversation, or just this mindset of how long it takes to complete a game versus what are you getting out of that game. So, yeah, pacing. I don't know how I got on that. Biggity08, I appreciate your super chat, bro. I don't know how the hell we got here. What road did I go down, bro? I can't even keep track anymore. Meanwhile, I'm over here giving the longest, side tangent about something that wasn't even talked about in the super chat. Dry the Gamer, you're saying, I mean the graphics will be insane. They will be insane. Dry the Gamer. You had a moment. Yeah, I have my moments, don't I? Perfect Image, you're saying, hey BG, I asked everyone, do we really need Call of Duty if it's not on PlayStation? I can't wait for GTA 6, Rise of the Ronin, Tekken 8, Metal Gear Solid, Ghost 2, hopefully Midnight Club. A lot of those games I'm looking forward to as well, man. And to answer your question, like, do we really need Call of Duty on PlayStation? Does PlayStation really need Call of Duty? I mean, look, man. The truth is if Call of Duty left PlayStation, a lot of players would leave. Maybe you wouldn't, maybe I wouldn't, but a lot of players would leave. Because all those games you just listed, like GTA 6, I would say that's a good reason to stay on PlayStation, but oh wait, that's going to be available on Xbox, you know what I mean? Rise of the Ronin, sure. Tekken 8, that's multiplat. MGS multiplat. Ghost 2, that's a good reason, but does anyone need Call of Duty? You would hope not, but yeah, a lot of people need Call of Duty. A lot of people need Call of Duty. Zombie Dragon, you're saying, I'm not complaining that what Nintendo has been doing. I think they make some of the best games, just not for me. And there you go. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Sorry, Zombie Dragon. I didn't mean to make it sound like you were complaining. I knew you weren't complaining. It's just, we just got to call. There's not like, sometimes people are afraid to call a spade, you know? And I don't know why. I guess it's just because they kind of like put themselves in these corners, and I get it, but like there's nothing wrong with saying that like a lot of these gaming companies just do the same things over and over and over again. Like it's okay if you're fine with that. Like it's okay to enjoy what they keep delivering, even if it feels like the same thing. Like it's like my complaints about Call of Duty, man. You know? Like, it's easy for me to sit here and say, how could anybody continually buy Call of Duty? It's like, well, easy. If they like the game and they don't mind paying for it. It's that simple. If they have friends that also still like the game and don't mind paying for it, it's like, oh. It's like, see, the answer is actually really, really simple. Now, is there something wrong with that? Oh, I don't know. I mean, then we're getting into a whole nother conversation. Somebody mentioned GTA 6. Let me bring this up real quick. I have an article from Push Square. GTA 6 speculation further inflamed after rumored voice actor returns to tease a reveal. The ever-glowing embers of GTA 6 speculation have once again caught flame after a recent Instagram live session got tongues wagging. Once again, it's veteran voice actor and presumed protagonist to be Brian Zampella and his continued costumed antics that have drawn attention. During an Instagram live session, Zampella, this time pulling off a Hawaiian shirt reminiscent of Vice City protagonist Tommy Vercetti's, and wielding a baseball bat, he sits down with ex-Rockstar developer Joseph L. Rubino for a chat. Over the course of said chat, Zampella drops all kinds of references to things like Florida and Miami, hanging out in clubs, the various missions he's been on, and that he can't be more specific about his adventures in the next few weeks. Zampella's comments, combined with some of the wilder theories from the community, make us think we might learn more in the weeks to come. So, yeah, look, I just wanted to bring this up because this is something that people continue to talk about, obviously, and will continue to talk about. GTA 6. When's GTA 6 coming? Dude, this guy is out here. I mean, he's basically saying it without saying it. He's letting everybody know that the reveal's probably coming very soon. But apparently this dude is actually, he's presumed to be the protagonist in GTA 6, and I watched a little bit of this Instagram live, and he's being cheeky, man. He really did dress up like Tom. He's got that Tommy Vercetti shirt on. He's in his house or something, holding a baseball bat for no reason, like. And the way he was wording, it's like, yeah, he's clearly teasing something related to GTA. And granted, it could just be a whole lot of nothing, but I just thought it was kind of funny. Saying apparently there's two protagonists. So we'll see if that GTA 6 reveal is coming, man. It has to be, right? It has to be. No, we know it is. We know it is because Take-Two Interactive pretty much, when Take-Two Interactive was talking about their financial expectations, they basically revealed that, yeah, GTA 6 is coming soon. So it'll be a fun time, man. I'm not super hyped for GTA 6. I'm as weird as it sounds, GTA 6 is like kind of a situation where I think I'm more excited to just see people's reactions. Like I'm more excited to just kind of sit back and watch and just see like what's it going to be like, man? Like what is this going to do to the industry? You want Red Dead 3? I think we're going to get a Red Dead 3, but probably not for a long time. Probably not for a long time, dude. I can't wait to see what GTA 6 looks like, though. Saying, bro, don't upset your followers with that. With what? With what? What am I going to upset my followers with? Yeah, I'm waiting for that GTA 6 PS5 bundle. Oh my God. All right, let me see here. Did I cover all the topics today? We talked about the leaked PS5 bundle. So we can... Oh, here's a good one. I forgot to mention this one. And I'm not going to go on long about this, but I'll just read it to you guys. So just so you know about this, I meant to cover this earlier. I have an article here. This will be the last topic. PlayStation boss was sure that Call of Duty wouldn't have been made exclusive from day one, alleges Microsoft. Following the FTC's request for a preliminary injunction against the closing of the Microsoft Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion, Microsoft lawyers have submitted their defense, alleging, among many other counterpoints, that even PlayStation boss Jim Ryan was immediately sure Call of Duty would not be made exclusive to Xbox consoles. While the exact quote from Jim Ryan that he reportedly said is redacted, the context is abundantly clear. Of course, since the statement was private, there is no way to know whether Microsoft is telling the truth here. First, there is no evidence to support the FTC's central theory that Xbox will take COD away from PlayStation. The FTC does not cite a single document or witness even suggesting this will happen. On the contrary, Jim Ryan, the CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment and the chief commercial opponent of this deal, said privately on the day it was announced. Still, assuming that could be true, it would be a stark contrast to Sony's fierce opposition against the merger that primarily hinged on the potential removal of Call of Duty from PlayStation. So this is kind of funny in a way because it's like Microsoft just literally came out and was like, even Jim Ryan said that he knows we won't take Call of Duty off of PlayStation. But like they can't share the actual quote from Jim, which is a good thing they can't, because it probably would, people would just drag Jim again, Jim Line Ryan. But apparently Jim Ryan even stated at some point that, yeah, we know you're not going to take Call of Duty off PlayStation. But like, what's weird to me is I've seen some people kind of like hanging on to this. Yeah, and that's true. Like, there is no actual evidence. But what's weird to me about this is like, guys, I think, didn't Jim Ryan make it clear with the last quote when he said, I just want to block your merger? Like, I think it's obvious, man. Like, Sony just hates what Microsoft is doing. Like, this isn't about, like, I do think Sony is a little bit concerned about the long-term future and, business-wise, but I just think Sony kind of hates Microsoft a little bit and what they're doing. And like, to me, it was just so funny back when we heard that quote from Jim Ryan. It was like, I just want to block your merger. And everybody was like, gasp. I can't believe he said that. Like, you can't? And like, I'm not surprised. Like, this doesn't surprise me at all. Like, if it is true, right? Jim Ryan's not stupid. He knows they're not just going to pull Call of Duty off of PlayStation. He just wants them to not own Call of Duty. Why? Like, and that's what I don't get about people, man. It's like, why is it so difficult for people to rationalize if you're Sony, you don't want your main competitor to own one of the biggest gaming franchises on your platform where you make the bulk of your money? You know what I'm saying? Like, why is it difficult for people to understand that you just wouldn't want that? Like, you're not going to be okay with that. So there we go, man. That's pretty much the last topic I had. I actually almost forgot about it. It's not even really, I think I just totally forgot about it because it's not even really a relevant thing. It's just like, it's kind of funny, honestly. I think it's pretty funny that like Microsoft's lawyers are like, well, Jim Ryan even said it. Jim Ryan even said that he knows we won't take Call of Duty off. It's like, all right, well, dude, Jim Ryan hates Microsoft, bro. You know he does. You know Jim Ryan he absolutely despises Xbox and Microsoft and Phil Spencer. You just get that sense. Kind of understandable, I guess. But with that being said, guys, I think this might be where the stream ends. I'm just going to go double check that I didn't miss any breaking news or anything. I've been streaming for like over 3 hours now. Did any news come out? Did anything interesting happen over the course of me streaming? It certainly doesn't look like it. Definitely doesn't look like it. Damn, I think like nothing happened. Very quiet day. Very quiet day. Very quiet week. So, oh, by the way, when are Final Fantasy 16 reviews dropping? I thought that they were supposed to drop today. They're cutting it pretty close, man. They're cutting it tomorrow. They're coming tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, we could probably talk about that tomorrow then. I'm interested. Immortals was delayed. Oh. Here we go. I'm on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit. Another PlayStation showcase this year is rumored to happen. So really quick, the only thing I'm trying to figure out, everybody keeps linking to this Chinese post or something, or with this who is this? Dark Klong. Oh my God, what kind of name is that, bro? I think I have like an allergy headache today or something, man. I think my allergies are bothering me. I'm like messed up. All right. Sony is still holding another PlayStation 5 showcase, according to the A9 VG source. Number one, they confirmed that this year we'll have another showcase. Number two, China Hero Project will have one game, Ming Dynasty background game announcement. So this is a Chinese source. Who is this person? I'm trying to do a little bit of research here before I leave to find out if there's any truth to this. Like, because as far as I'm concerned, this is just a random person. I don't know who this is. Like, who is this dude? No one seems to know. Let me see on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit. This person says, I have no idea who Dark Klong is, but everyone has been saying that Sony must be planning another showcase for this year, solely because the one from 2 weeks ago or whatever wasn't well received. Seems like a nothing burger. Yeah, it really does seem like that. I'm not seeing anybody vouch for this individual. You got to be kidding me, man. Come on. Like, how is this even circulating? This has to be somebody in the know. Because, like, if this person doesn't have any credibility whatsoever, now we're just posting about random people just saying Sony's going to do a showcase. Come on, man. This is ridiculous. This person says, and I'll read this. This is just a reply. This person says, I just don't believe this at all. And the reason to me is this. If there were to be another PlayStation showcase later this year, they would not have branded the first showcase as a showcase at all. It would have made significantly more sense to call it a state of play. PlayStation Showcase this year broke the norm set from 2020 and 2021, in which the PlayStation Showcase was held in September. 2020 had an additional Future of Gaming Showcase to give a first look at the PS5. It's all just speculation, man. Whatever. I guess if anything, guys, I will just put this little warning out there for you. If you see, if you see people talking about like PlayStation Showcase rumors, be very careful, because it really is just seeming like they're coming from nowhere, and I don't know why. I'll put my thoughts out there one last time. Like, do I think Sony's doing a showcase this year? I'm completely 50-50 on the matter. That's it. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they decided to do one. It wouldn't surprise me if they didn't do one. I think Sony could go the rest of 2023 and be perfectly fine without doing a showcase. They're going to make their money. They're going to sell PS5s. It's going to be fine. But I could also totally understand why, if Sony felt it towards later in the year, they're like, you know what, we want to set up 2024 a little bit better and put out more of a roadmap, then sure, I could see that happening as well. So, yeah, I don't know why these rumors are circulating. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for the stream. I want to ask you, everybody, we have 380 people here. Please do me one last favor before you leave. Please hit that like button on your way out. The only reason I'm asking is because it really does help with YouTube's algorithm, and it is important for my streams to kind of get out there as well as the videos. So, guys, one last favor, just hit that like button. Just take a second to do that for me before you head out. And I also, before I head out, want to extend a big thank you to all of your support. I got a lot of super chats today. I appreciate you guys keeping the conversation going. I know I seem a little bit like hazy today. I don't know why. Like, maybe it's just allergies. Maybe I didn't get enough sleep last night. But thank you guys so much for the super chats. Huge shout out to 31 members today. We had multiple people gifting memberships. Somebody did become a member. So to everybody who either became a member or gifted those memberships, thank you so much. I appreciate that support. I'm able to do what I do here because of you guys. And it's a privilege. It's an honor. And I couldn't be more grateful for the support that you guys show. So thank you so much. And I want to give one last shout out to Devil Shooter. Devil Shooter has been absolutely on point, doing timestamps relatively quickly when it comes to these streams ending. So for anybody who enjoys those timestamps or relies on them, if you see Devil Shooter, give him a big thank you. And yeah, I just want to thank everybody for just watching and hanging out with me. So I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to do another stream tomorrow. I might. Like, apparently the Final Fantasy 16 reviews are coming out, and I don't know, like, maybe we can do a stream for that. I'll have to see what the conversation, what the buzz is like, and if we get any other news. If not, if I don't do a stream tomorrow, at the very least, I will probably do a video. But I will certainly try to do more streams later in the week. So look forward to that. Oh, and also one last thing I have to plug here. I do have a members only Q&A video that's out there. Some members may have missed it. Maybe you didn't get the notification. I just want to remind you that is there for those who look for that members only content. The next piece of members only content, I'm not entirely sure what it will be. I don't know if it'll be another Q&A or stream, but just be on the lookout for that. All right. I'll update you guys. All right. That does it, guys. Thanks again. I will catch you in the next one. Until then, take care, everyone. Oh, really quick, actually. Hold on. I never do this. I always hit the end. Somebody said Metacritic predictions for Final Fantasy 16. I should say this really quick before I go because, yeah, the next time I talk to you guys, we'll have the Metacritic score. All right, I'm going to lock it in now. I'm thinking Final Fantasy 16 is going to be exactly at a 90. I'm thinking exactly at a 90. I could see it dipping to an 89, an 88, or an 87, but I'm just visualizing right now, and I just see a 90. So that's where I'm putting it. See a lot of you guys saying 93, 92. Yeah, we'll see, man. All right, so let's try this again. Until next time, guys, take care.